taken out. He first takes out the Snake War, so no more snakes. I mean, but all the scrolls are gone. Xeno is gone as well.
Just no more army, no more owls. He only has 3 scrolls.
Full steamroller.
So he has got the counterpunch now. Let's see how this goes.
If he can get it. There goes it!
He took it out!
Classic Metal counter snipes!
See them tearing now, they're getting nailed down here. They're even walking through the gas. It's too late. Deadbones has the superior numbers at this moment. He's gonna mow down Xeno's wards. GG! Deadbones is your champion for.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the finals of the Clash of Comrades January campaign map draft tournament. I am Lacante. I'll be talking the most today, most likely. I am joined by Captain Fog. Hello, Captain. And maybe surprisingly, we have a LOL Steamroller.
Hello, guys.
Who will be providing some analysis, as he is one of the few people in Clash of Comrades organization who have actually played some of these maps, so it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. Now, we have 4 matches for you today as we look at these brackets. We recognize some names from last week. We have in the semi-finals in the upper bracket, we have Xeno, Acoop, and Chip from Space, who will be facing off again after Xeno taking the finals last week. So we'll see how that matchup goes. But our first match today will be Blow Deer versus Classic Metal in the lower bracket, round 4. Both of these matches will be best of 5, and then the lower bracket finals will be best of 5 as well. And then finally we have a best of 7 for the grand final. Now, as we are getting set up, I believe we have the map already picked for the first game, Captain.
Yeah, that is correct. In Classic Metal Bloodier, it's going to be Breadbasket for our first map. And Classic Metal has chosen to be Bellafeed in the southeast, and Bloodier has chosen to be Hopper in the northwest.
The Breadbasket is, I think, one of the most played maps I've seen today, with not sure really who's favorite on that matchup, but in general, the people think that Hopper has the main advantage there.
Well, we'll have to see if the players can put that to the test. I guess we just get started and jump into our games for today, because we do have quite a few to go through. So let's hop into this lobby, and we can let the players know that they can start, I do believe. Before I forget, I do want to give a huge shout out to AV Ultima, who's again running the production this time around, as he did last week, and we had so many good comments about how his observing was fantastic. So we said, you can just do it again. And so he does. I just have to wait for our players to... Looks like they are picking. And we're getting ready for our first game.
Classic Metal going for that very standard Squirrel Toad. Of course, Classic Metal has played in almost every Clash of Comrades tournament we've had. We've been fortunate to be able to watch Classic Metal develop as a player, from massive squirrel balls to very solid tier 1 play, and now branching out into tier 2 and tier 3. So I'm really excited to see how an older player like Classic Metal does against Bloater, who's relatively new to the scene.
One thing about Bloater is want to mention is that he's been refining his deck to actually try to create an unexploitable deck, but it seems that in the last second he has switched skunks, which he doesn't use. He always uses lizards there, which is kind of interesting adjustment to his, because the guy basically used only one deck throughout the map draft so far.
Okay, so I believe we currently have stream audio, but no stream visuals. Hope we can figure this out sooner rather than later. I think we don't currently have the observer in the game, so we should probably just remake. It is fine, we'll figure it out. We'll tell our players to remake and figure out what has happened.
Anyways, I'm really interesting about Bloater picking skunks, because that is deviation from his strategies, which means he probably has learned something from either the Strawberry Cup, who was played yesterday, and I'll see why the skunks are hot in this top 4 now.
both players picked skunks actually. With Classic Metal, it didn't really surprise me because he does tend to favor the skunk in other games, in other metas as well.
The skunks are particularly well suited against, general squirrels. But the thing is that even the Bloodier used his lizards in order to, kill off skunks pretty easily, while his squirrel ball was engaging other squirrel balls.
Yeah, I think personally I haven't had too much success with skunks this patch, but if both players are picking them, then maybe they have figured something out that we don't know about yet. So I do hope they get to pick it again, and then we'll actually get to see how they end up playing them. Okay, looks like we are ready to hop back in. We'll just figure out which lobby this is.
Looks like they're going for the Classic Metal lobby.
Okay. Alright. Looks good. We have a stream video feed, we have stream audio feed. Now we simply need players, unless the lobby is completely broken. Okay, looks like our players are here and about good to ready up. We're just waiting for Classic Metal and then we can actually get started. Do apologize for the delay.
I think Classic Metal, considering Breadbasket as a map, should be more aggressive, and the Bloodier is definitely known as a much more aggressive player than Classic Metal, since Bloodier usually plays his style with the one base all-ins and usually gets his expo only just to survive past the 5-minute mark in case he didn't manage to kill his opponent right now and then, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
but this map
Classic Metal, I think.
Certainly favors the hopper much more, since it's much easier to exploit. So I'm really curious to see how Classic Metal will be going, and on the aggressive side.
Alright, so we do have a game on our hands at the very last. We have Classic Metal playing as Bellafeed in blue to the right of the map, and to the north we have Bloated as Hopper in red on Breadbasket. The distinguishing feature of this map is pretty much that there's not that much high ground to work with. There's only one base just to the south of Hopper's base, and then the rest is just flat land all the way through. So we'll have to see how these players adapt to that.
Classic Metal does have a nice protected south base. Bloater, of course, has that protected high ground base in the west. We'll see if they decide to go for that first or go for their nice, safe, natural expansions, perhaps in front or to the side. Classic Metal could go literally directly in front of his own base, but Bloater might choose to go for that high ground base, or perhaps the northern base, which has a nice choke point to look for.
We do see a small variation in builds already. Classic Metal is going for 7-farm Warren, whereas Bloated has decided to have 8 farms before grabbing any units. This map is actually fairly small, so the distance between the bases is really short. So we'll see if Classic Metal's Lizards can do any damage before Bloated can really get his defenses up and going.
Yeah, first Lizard about 3/4 of the way out right now.
I'd like to mention that from the middle mills, where you can see there's not a lot of place where you can actually put mines on the path, since the mills block most of the place to put landmines there.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy map to make landmines work, especially since the commanders can just scout between the bases really quickly. It doesn't take them all that long, and you can just run around them because there is so much open space to work with. Bloater is going for just squirrels, but Classic Metal has opted to mix in lizard squirrels and is now adding on toads, despite not scouting any lizards from Bloater yet. Though Bloater has been showing really strong lizard play in the Strawberry Cup tournament yesterday, so maybe he is expecting lizards because of that.
Yeah, both players almost exactly dead even in army value. Bloatier's slightly ahead, just because of getting that 8th farm. He's got slightly more food, but Classic Metal starting to pull a little bit ahead now with 5 warrens of looks like mixed squirrels, toads, lizards.
Classic Metal is just about to get up a landmine, but Bloated scouts it just near the end. It's really close. We talked about the landmines, but he just can't quite get it up. But that would have been a cheeky little play. Other than that, both players are going for very similar unit compositions. Bloated has pigeons, whereas Classic Metal has lizards. And then they have both skunk and fox. So it looks like Bloated is the first to add in the tier 2, and he is opting for skunks.
Yeah, we'll see which player is the most aggressive. Classic Metal definitely went for the more aggressive build, getting that 7 farm Warren. It's a little bit standard, but it looks like Bloaty pushing out right now across the field.
Yeah, just looking to deny this mine, but it does complete just about, so we'll heal up in a moment. So Bloody has to be careful around that position, though, as Lost Steamroller was saying, Hopper gets to play more defensive on this map, so maybe he's fine with not really pushing out.
Definitely...
Meanwhile, Classic Metal, his skunk horn is about halfway done, whereas Bloated first skunk is just popping out now.
Definitely interesting to see Bloatier with the higher concentration of skunks, or of squirrels, whereas Classic Metal, of course, is famously known for those massive balls of just squirrels.
As you can see, no player really wants to commit right now. Well, Bloater kind of wants, but since he has a skunk here, but no player will actually is looking for engagement since nothing is really happening at the moment. Like there's nothing to contest at the moment. Both are sitting on one base, and there's no real need to contest much of the space.
Looks like skunks are just going to put down some gas. Bloater comes forward aggressively, but decides to retreat. Bloater has the pigeons here, so he can afford to run into the skunk gas and then retreat a little bit. This Classic Metal is trying to put down more gas, but he has to be pretty careful with these skunks, especially with it's a 2 double-bladed knife, because the squirrels will take out the skunks in large numbers if Classic Metal isn't careful with his micro. But we have seen that Classic Metal can definitely control his skunks properly if he has to. And Classic Metal is going to go up and opt for an expansion. Bloated is coming forward. Here comes an engagement. There's a lot of skunk gas going down. Classic Metal's lizards are running in. I don't know if they did a lot of damage. There were a few toad explosions, but Classic Metal is the first to lose a skunk here. And he's currently blocked on food, and it looks like Bloated is rolling over this army. His skunks are staying alive, keeping his squirrels alive as well with the pigeon support. And I think Bloated comes out ahead in this engagement, despite Classic Metal having a slightly stronger army.
Yeah, big win there for Bloatier, losing about half as many as Classic Metal did. Although Classic Metal does have that expansion started in the south. We'll see if he can...
Bloater isn't done. He's going to go again. Classic Metal's skunk is still really low HP because he doesn't have those pigeons to bring it up fast enough, whereas Bloater, he's just ready to go again. And his skunks are very healthy, putting down a lot of gas. And Classic Metal, he does have 3 skunks right now, though one of them is on about 5 HP.
Yeah, Classic Metal did much better in that engagement, losing a lot less than he did last time.
Again, the Bloated skunks can just stand their ground in the gas because of the pigeon support. He's trying to push forward aggressively now, but I don't know if it's going to work. Most of his squirrels are dead. One of his skunks is actually on 10 HP, and Classic Metal is trying to micro this, but he did lose another 2 skunks, so despite it looking good for Classic Metal, I think Bloated comes out ahead again. Classic Metal has been forced to sell off most of his squirrel warrants and the skunk warrant, so it looks like it's Bloated's game to take, unless this comes down to starvation.
Yeah, Bloater is about twice the army value of Classic Metal right now. Of course, Bloater on 2 farms, Classic Metal on 2, has not built anything at that southern base yet. So Bloater definitely in the lead.
Bloater looking to get more gas down before this engagement really starts, and Classic Metal doesn't really want to commit to this. Okay, here he goes. He brings in his lizards, but Bloater has so many squirrels right now that even these toad hits might not even be able to turn the tide, and Bloated skunks can just run into gas and get healed up again. Although Bloater is starving now, whereas Classic Metal still has some time left. So Bloater is forced to sell off some of his warrants and needs to build a farm before Classic Metal's starvation timer, which does kick in now. So this is surprisingly close. Both players just going all in on one base. And no one has been able to seal out the game just yet, although it does look like Bloater has the upper hand right now.
Yeah, Bloater building 3 farms at that northern base there. Classic Metal deciding just to kind of end it right here. He doesn't have enough. He's 0 food right now, and is going to decide not to sell anything. So he's got to end it right now, or he's going to lose this match.
Yeah, but with these 5 pigeons alive for Bloater, he can do he has a much easier time prodding and poking with his skunks, whereas Classic Metal has to be really careful. Any unit he loses is a huge loss for him. He does start a farm now, but he doesn't have the food for it. He has about 15 seconds to sell another warren. It looks like he's going to get rid of his lizards. Well, meanwhile, Bloater is on 2 farms again. So Bloater is going to have an easier time stabilizing, but Classic Metal, he's not done. He's going to try and take out some of these warrens.
Really just blowing time right now, as much as he can to get that starvation timer off, which is off now. He's only got 2 squirrels, a toad, and 2 skunks left.
And Bloater did sell one of his warrants, but Classic Metal has to be really careful with this. If he loses his skunks, it's probably the game. The squirrel spawning in the back might actually cause him some trouble. There's another toad alive, but I don't know if it's going to be able to do any damage. A skunk living on 5 HP, and Classic Metal retreating once again. He does have an income of 1 food per second right now, and this might be a longer game than we anticipated.
Yeah, Bloater about 3 or 4 tier 1 units ahead right now, and of course with 6 pigeons, which gives him a huge advantage against the main weapon that Classic Metal has right now, which is those skunks.
Yeah, Classic Metal is out of position. His army isn't being controlled right now, and it looks like he's going to lose 1 squirrel to the gas, which, when you're only getting 1 food per second, is a huge loss. Classic Metal looking to go around, but taking another fight. This toad is going to go down. His skunks is on 6 HP, but Bloater is going to retreat. Toads are trying to connect, but they just can't quite make it. Classic Metals loses one of his skunks, so he's down to 2 squirrels and a skunk. 1 squirrel and a skunk and a squirrel, and Classic Metal currently has a single squirrel to try and defend and will throw in the towel. That was an explosive game.
Explosive indeed.
Alright, so we will get in touch with the players and figure out what the next map and spawn positions will be. Yeah, this was the first game I've personally seen on this map, Red Basket, and you said that Hopper has the defensive advantage, but in this case, Bloater just took the fight to Classic Metal with the heavy pigeon support.
Bloater generally has a playstyle that is rather aggressive with button base, so he definitely was going to pick a fight first, and I think it actually boiled down to pigeons, more or less, since the pigeons are really valuable in long-term fights, and we could clearly see that Classic Metal didn't actually use the lizards to his full potential, and yeah, that's more like that's more why the game was lost in that sense for Classic Metal.
Yeah, I do agree that the pigeons allowed Bloater to just continuously take fights, whereas Classic Metal had to be a little bit more careful with his units. It does look like the next map will be Lizard Lagoon, which is a map with a lot of water and just a few really thin bridges between both players. So it's a completely different map in terms of what it looks like and how it will play most likely.
All right, Classic Metal has elected to go for Hopper.
He's played Hopper versus me on Lizard Lagoon, and I like to say that Hopper has a massive advantage when it comes to placing warrants there. Lizard Lagoon and the Bellified actually doesn't have a lot of place to place warrants down, and once you get into that mid-game, if you don't force anything early and you don't trade early, you're beginning to run out of land on Lizard Lagoon since the water is so much there. While the Hopper has the easy expansion and he can build warrants around that expansion in between, and reinforcement is a lot better for the middle fights.
All right, looks like our players are ready to start now.
Yep. Both players have selected the proper commanders. Looks like the map seed is set properly, so we're just waiting for Classic Metal to ready up. Bloater is up 1-0 in this best of 5, so we'll see if Classic Metal can bring it back on this map, which was Bloater's choice. Classic Metal opting to choose his commander here, and he went with Hopper. So we'll see if the unit composition changes. Bloater going for chameleons as well as skunks, it looks like.
Interesting choice. I did not expect him to deviate from his original build, but it seems that he realizes that some adjustments are to be needed if he wants to do well in this top 4.
Do you think it's because of the different map, or is it more a case of wanting to go for a different play style?
I didn't expect him, which means he has learned something from Strawberry Cup. I think he drew some conclusions from yesterday's game and realized what was his weakness, and choosing to adapt his build. And yeah, maybe he studied maps a bit, and they did a lot of fights with and probably some practice matches, which led them to believe that this is correct play.
All right, so it looks like we do have the game started as everyone connects properly.
Another thing I would like to say is that it's really interesting that I just said the Bellified doesn't have a lot of place for warrants, and you can clearly see that Bloater has more tier 2 units, which actually take up less space since you don't need as much tier 1s in your deck.
All right.
That is
so
the
do we
land to
have-
build on.
Yeah, definitely Blode might be going for more valuable units rather than a high amount of units. Speaking of which, Blode has spawned in the north of this map as Bellafide in blue, and Classic Metal is playing in red this time to the south. And well, as you can see, the distinguishing features of this map are not that much space to build for Bellafide in particular, but Hopper also doesn't have that much space to work with, having to put a few warrens out in front. And then there's just a lot of low ground and swamplands in the middle, so we'll see how this game plays out. Talk to me about sniper balloons. Why does Blode pick sniper balloons on this map?
I have no clue. Sniper balloons were the king before, and this map, only the movement is my guess why would be. The movement is really slow, and the sniper balloons really excel at the units which are slow and can't really kill them.
True,
off,
the
right?
balloon could be very good at picking off units wading through the water. Looks like Classic Metal is going for lizards again, whereas Blode is going for squirrels.
Yeah, both players went for that 8 farm start because this game will likely be much slower with all that slow movement all around. Rushing isn't fantastic, especially with the high ground advantages for both players. So definitely going for a slower 8 farm economy build.
I think with a map this large, it's perfectly safe for both players to go for 8 farms, and Blode is going to go 2 tier 1 warrens into a skunk, whereas Classic Metal is currently adding on just more tier 1. So Blode definitely favoring tier 2 here, as predicted. But the question is he going to go aggressive with it, or is he going to try and expand? Well, he is expanding, but is he going to try and defend his expansion with it?
And great timing there from Blodier. As soon as that tier 2 warren was out, that skunk started building. So making sure to keep an eye on his food bank and having exactly the right amount of food to start.
I think a few players have figured out that 2 tier 1 warrens into a tier 2 is a really nice timing curve in terms of when your units are coming. You can put down 2 tier 1 warrens, put down your tier 2, and then another tier 1 warren, and you will have continuous unit production with some extra food to spare once the first tier 2 unit has been built. Blode is going to put up Sniper Balloon on this high ground, and looks like he's going to be expanding behind it. Classic Metal is starting his second mill a little bit later. So Blode might be getting a bit of an economic advantage here, but he has also invested in that static defense. So let's see how that plays out.
Sniper Balloon, of course, is going to give a lot of vision. It is flying, which gives the advantage of being able to see uphill, as well as about 6 or 7 tiles around the Sniper Balloon itself.
Yeah, the Sniper Balloon has the highest amount of vision out of any unit in the game, so definitely gives Blode a good view of what's going on the map. Classic Metal has expanded, but hasn't built any farms currently.
Yeah, Blodier going for that, going very hard on economy here, going for 5 farms on that expansion there. Classic Metal just throwing down 3 right now. So
I think with a map like this, it's a fairly safe play to go heavy in the economy. Looks like it does sell 1 farm and opts to go for a fox right away. Maybe scouting that Classic Metal hasn't placed any defensive structures yet, and with the pigeons Blode has, he will get vision up that high ground and can start picking away at all these units, and the fox can just run away, where the units are going to be slowed in the water. It's going to be pretty awful if Classic Metal tries to fight against the fox, I think.
Yeah, both players dead even on army value right now at about 480. And they were kind of rubber banding back and forth, both of them taking that economic 8 farm build, but looks like Blodier pulling ahead just a little bit right now, with, of course, that fox coming out and a couple more tier 1s.
Yeah, the fox warren just finishes, so in about 40 seconds, Blode will have his fox out on the field. Classic Metals, he has no real way of scouting this, and doesn't have defenses up currently. He's going to try and add in ferrets, which I fear are just going to be food for the fox. And Blode is going to opt for this base all the way in the right corner of the map, but Classic Metal does scout it, so he is aware that there is a base there.
Of course, you just saw, but for any new players who are just joining us, water is traversable, but it slows the unit's movement speed down by half. So you can move through water. You have a disadvantage of walking through water, though.
Classic Metal,
yeah.
Yep, scouting that Blode has a third base. Classic Metal is going to get his own, but he is forced to take it on the low ground. And now Blode has his fox, so gets his first shot off and playing a little bit safe. but he's going to just start picking away at these units while also securing this forward position, perhaps looking to fortify with more sniper balloons. And there we go, that's the first balloon down, which is going to give him a lot of vision onto Classic Metal's high ground. Looks like Classic Metal has had enough. He is going to go for a push. Bloated has sold his sniper balloon, but now Classic Metal has to push for all this skunk gas. Looks like he is going to be denying his expansion, but the Fox is in the back sniping units. Classic Metal still has 10 squirrels alive though, but they are all going to start. Okay, that was a lot of skunk gas. Classic Metal unfortunately losing all of his squirrels there, and now Bloated Fox can just run forward and start picking off units again.
Yeah, Bloated coming massively ahead, both a combination of having those farms a little bit earlier than Classic Metal, and also staying on top during that fight.
So now it's just a matter of the Fox not getting hit by ferret shots, which is fairly easy to do on this road especially. Okay, as we say, he gets hit twice, but he does have 6 pigeons to back it up, thankfully. And Bloated is just going to keep picking away, and it's up to Classic Metal. He's going to try and take the fight, but Bloated has added on chameleons, which do get taken out by the toads here.
Yeah,
there's a lot of gas.
Fox picking off a skunk. Now there's about half health there in one shot.
Right, so Classic Metal is desperately trying to push forward. Bloated is down to 3 skunks. The gas is finally in a good position, so Classic Metal has to find the angle here. The Fox is just poking away at Classic Metal's units. Skunk in front does get taken out. And again, Fox has taken so much value sniping most of Classic Metal's tier 2. Both players still have 8 farms at the moment, so they can replenish, but Bloated definitely has made his claim and is looking to slowly starve out Classic Metal, it looks like.
Yeah, Bloated about 3 times the army value of Classic Metal right now. Now that Fox, of course, doing a lot of damage and accounting for that. Both players replenishing at the same rate. So he's going to stay more than half in Bloated's favor for a little while until Classic Metal can pull something out.
Classic Metal looks like he wants to go for Bloated's base, but Bloated is just going to keep poking away with the Fox, and now the units are going to be forced to run through the water, and Classic Metal sees that there's not actually any farms on this base. He can maybe take out a Warren here, but Classic Metal's units, Bloated's units, are more or less in position. So this looks like a desperate attempt from Classic Metal to do any kind of damage, but all his reinforcements just got sniped and gassed, and it wasn't looking pretty. Now Bloated's Fox can finally move forward and start picking off some farms. So I don't know how Classic Metal can salvage this.
Yeah, definitely building some of those machine gun turrets that he has. Bloated doesn't have any kind of... He does have those chameleons that would be able to take them down, but machine guns
definitely
might
a
be
good idea for Classic Metal. Looks like Bloated is going to try and close out the game here, overpowering Classic Metal, and that is going to be 2-0 for Bloated in this best of 5. So we'll see if Classic Metal can turn it around and perhaps make this a series as we wait for the players to pick which map they want to play and which position.
I think it was rather well played by Bloated that he did not plan to go aggressive, and his whole game plan from the start, you could see clearly he wanted to establish a defensive base, get some healthy economy, and only then move into the middle. On my practice games, I tend to just move into middle, and you could easily lose if you move into the middle and you can't secure it. So I think Bloated did the right thing, and Classic Metal was doing okay in terms of economy, but since the Fox come, even though the Fox wasn't the greatest killer, I think all those things combined just stacked up, against him, and especially pigeons. I would like to see pigeons, because in those skunk guys, you could clearly see that while he was taking a fight, which he was barely losing, most of his losses came from just sitting in that gas while the Bloated just retreated to the safety without much problems.
Well, it looks like players have picked our next map. Can you enlighten us?
Yes, it's going to be Nomad's Pass is our next map. Classic Metal has elected to go for Hopper, which of course is in the southeast, and Bloated is going to be Bellefied in the northwest.
Pass is a nice, great open map, and I think we would see the Bloated going much more aggressive on this map. In order for Bellefied to succeed, he has secured that farm on the high ground. I don't know if the map is visible there, but you will clearly see. And the Hopper kind of has to limit the Bellafeed's expansion. So it's about like Bellafeed being aggressive and Hopper being defensive and trying to limit as much as possible. We'll see what it boils down into decks.
It's a fairly straightforward map with not that much space to actually work with, since about 1/3 of the map is completely closed off to any commander or unit movement.
The Hopper's general playstyle, I would like to say that if the Hopper takes the middle, which is just north above his base, the Bellafeed is really trapped and has to attack. You know, the Bellafeed is on the timer in general. He can't really stay back, and has to be pretty proactive about his map taking.
Yeah, definitely seems like a map where Hopper can control a lot of space by just taking one fairly easy to take expansion, which is going to force Bellafeed into, as you say, a timed game. You have to try and beat the strategy before the economic disadvantage eventually takes out. So Bloater looks like he's going for the same deck he did last time, except he has Toads instead of Chameleons. And Classic Metal going for Landmines instead of Ferrets, and opting to get this Fox. Both players getting Fox. But that's
no pigeons.
No pigeons again, yes.
Oh, Bloater has
Oh,
pigeons,
right.
yeah.
Bloater has pigeons. He has had them for every single game, and we've talked about how they've definitely helped him secure the win in these games. So, without further ado, we have the game started. We have Bloater as Bellafeed in the left of the map, and then to the south we have Classic Metal as Hopper in red again.
All right, of course, Classic Metal has to pull this game off, or it will be the end of the tournament for him, as this is the loser's bracket. So Bloater up 2-0 right now.
Of course, the interesting part is that the players don't really need to scout these maps. They know what to expect, so they can spend almost all of their time just scouting their opponent and figuring out what their opponent is doing, rather than
Or dancing.
finding out where they are, or dancing, which is of course very important in high-level Tooth and Tail. We'll see if either player goes for 7 farm, or both going to go for 8. Classic Metal's going to go for 8. Bloater's going to do the same.
So nice safe econ game again for both players. Neither player electing to form any kind of cheese or to rush.
Yeah, and again, the strategies are same as we've seen in the previous games. Classic Metal's going for squirrels, Bloater's going for Classic Metal's going for lizards, excuse me, with Bloater going for squirrels, and we'll see how it plays out. Because if the previous games are anything to go by, Bloater's pigeon skunk push is going to be pretty strong.
I would like to see the Classic Metal utilize more mines, especially since, he just did now on those places. Since that middle is really everywhere Bellafeed modes, he has to go through the middle, and especially that road. And since the roads attract units on them, placing mines on them can be hugely beneficial to any aggression.
You may not have been around when this was patched, but the roads no longer take priority in unit pathing. So you aren't forced to run on roads anymore with your units, but it's still, a good idea to run on roads because you will move faster. And this is definitely a better map for mines than Breadbasket was, which we saw in Game 1.
All right, once again, both players equal in army value, as they both went for the same build, 8 farms. The only difference being Classic Metal with some lizards out, same number of toads for both players, and of course Classic Metal with fewer squirrels than Bloater's 11, with only 4 on the field right now.
Classic Metal might be positioning to take this base to the north of his main base, with these mines already in position. Or he may play it safe and get the back expand, but he is going to go for skunks first, whereas Bloater is just racking up squirrels and toads right now.
I think Bloater's plan is to take that expo, secure, and put some balloons to control the 3 frontal expansions there. At least that would make sense.
Yeah, balloons they can control a lot of zone on this map. There's no amazing spaces to put them, I believe, because you kind of have to put them on the low ground. But still, if you can place your army there and defend it, it could be good. And again, neither player is really looking to take a fight.
Yeah, Classic Metal's skipping tier 2 entirely and going straight for that fox.
He
does have enough food right now. That Warren is about almost done, so he's going to have that fox starting to build as soon as the Warren finishes.
This is a throwback to last week, where we saw fairly early tier 3 timings all around. The Warren is done at about 3 minutes 30 seconds, so at about 4 minutes and 10 we'll see this Fox coming out. And Bloated currently does not have a balloon up.
I think the Bloater is looking to push as soon as his skunks are done.
Yeah, it definitely seems to favor having 2 skunks out before doing the push, and he's going to try and grab the space in the meantime, so definitely looking to secure his hold on this game. Well, not secure it, but to get something out of this game. He knows where the mines are, he's going to trigger it and then just retreat to his pigeons. Just very clean play, really. And the Fox is out for Classic Metal, so this is where the game actually begins. So we'll see how much Classic Metal can start doing with this. Picks off a single squirrel, he's a little bit scared apparently. And Bloated is going to try and get this balloon up. And this is now, can Classic Metal deny the balloon? Toad gets picked off, so Bloated is only working with 2 Toads right now against a fair number of lizards, about 9, as everything is done from Classic Metal. Classic Metal is just going to be poking away at these squirrels. Fox doing exactly what it's meant to do, but it does look like the balloon is going to be up. So that's going to buy Bloated some time. Can probably get him even some farms if he wants to.
Of course, that Fox cannot hit that sniper balloon, which is why we say that Bloater has a little bit of time now. Otherwise, Classic Metal could keep running that Fox in. But he's going to try and sneak around the side, see if he can keep taking units out. He is behind Bloater in terms of army value because of getting that Fox out. So he needs to keep using that Fox to the greatest extent he can to make up for that.
Classic Metal seems to be a little bit scared about using his Fox, though. Classic Metal taking a bit of an economic lead here. He has had the base in the south going for a little while, looking to shore up his defenses with some mines, but maybe respecting his balloon a bit too much, because the Fox can tank 2 shots, I believe, before it does go down. Maybe even 3, because the balloon does 12 damage and the Fox has 40 HP.
Classic Metal only needs to defend here, since Bloater still hasn't invested nothing in economy, and he needed to pay for his Fox as well.
Yeah, if Classic Metal can hold Bloated's push, then Classic Metal is in a really good spot, but I think Bloated is just going to wait as long as he can, keep adding on units, and he's going to try and get his high ground base, rather than taking farms on the low ground. Classic Metal coming in. Oh, Bloated sold his sniper balloon. This may have been a mistake. So now Classic Metal, okay, he doesn't have the high ground vision, and this comes down to the pigeons again. I feel Classic Metal could have been a lot more aggressive if he'd had pigeons in this matchup, but doesn't seem to think it's necessary.
Even just any kind of scouting right now, Classic Metal's on 10 farms to Bloater's 2, 5 times the number of Warrens out.
Okay, so Bloater has finished a Fox right now, and looks like now we do get a fight. The skunk is really low for Bloated. Classic Metal's Fox gets hits, so he has to be really careful, whereas Bloater's Fox does have pigeon support, so it's up to Bloater to be aggressive now, I think. Although Bloater is currently starving, does put down a farm. This is... I feel like Bloater has an advantage in terms of the armies, but Classic Metal can keep his economy up for as long as he wants.
It boils down to what I said before, the battle feed is on the time, usually, since the Hopper controls the game more or less here as well.
Yeah, definitely seeing how this map may be very much in favor of Hopper. But now the sniper balloon is up, so Bloated does have a space to retreat to, and he can just, yeah, as long as his Fox only gets hit once, he's going to be perfectly fine and can go back and heal. Classic Metal's Fox is actually on about 6 HP right now, so he can't really go aggressive with it. So he's just kind of 360
it's
food.
Playing with fire. It's playing with fire.
Classic Metal has been pulling ahead in army value. I'm not really sure why he hasn't pushed in, given how quickly his army can reinforce. Again, I might just have to attribute it to a lack of scouting. Seeing
I think
how
he's just scared of losing his Fox right now.
Yeah.
And again, Bloated, he can take a bit of damage and just retreat. It's not a problem. Bloated, he wants this Fox. Keeps moving forward whenever he's doing this little dance with Classic Metal. Really close there. Yeah, Classic Metal might be going in now. Balloon is gonna go down. The Fox is still in the background. Bloated squirrels are gonna be taken out. And now what does Bloated have left? Nothing really, so he has to make it work with this Fox. His pigs are gonna get taken out, and if this mill goes down, then I don't think... Okay, Bloated's Fox goes down. This is Classic Metal's game to take.
Alright, so
Perhaps Bloated making a mistake in picking the map?
picking victory from the jaws of defeat, if ever there was one.
was
I think
enough
all of the
stalling.
players usually pick the spawn, and you have to go in with the map. And I don't think this map is all that bad from Belafid. It's just the way that Bloater managed his economy, which kind of, in the
Yeah.
end, and he was faced with the fox, and he can't really invest in eco after he's seen an enemy fox, and that's the main thing. He has to get his fox of his own, because otherwise this game would end even sooner.
Yeah, probably true. Bloater did have the advantage again with the pigeons, so he could stay in the game a little longer, but unfortunately his economy was just too far behind at that point. The Classic Metal could just keep reinforcing and keep taking a fight. We're just waiting for our players to pick the next map here. Keep in mind that they can't pick the same map twice, so they have 4 maps to pick from right now.
I would really love to see Hilltop. And it is Hilltop.
It is Hilltop, so we'll see your wish granted. I think it's one of the more interesting maps we have. A little bit not the favorite.
It's the most interesting map, at least to me personally.
What makes you say that?
It has interesting mechanics with either the short distance movement there, and it has a lot of interesting ways that you can play, and especially lizards. Lizards are really nice in this because there's so many places they can go.
All right.
I
Classic Metal
see
has
Blooders taking Belafid.
Yep. So Classic Metal will be playing Hopper once again. And we have seen Classic Metal go for these early lizards in all 3 of the games. Classic Metal currently down 1 game to 2, so Bloater has another chance at closing out this game. So, okay, looks like the seeds are set, so we're just waiting for the players to ready up. And then we can get this 4th game underway.
I guess we'll a lot of lizards and maybe some toads and Hopper. There's both ways you can attack, and I think the main thing is that Hopper, while it has excellent near to bases, the both can be raided with if the blue has lizards. They can be raided from whichever side you want, and for Hopper, it's really hard to get on top of this base because there's a lot of chokes and points.
Yeah, looks like both players realize the strength of lizards on this map, so they will go for both lizards and toads. And Classic Metal is going to add on pigeons. Okay, Bloater is changing his mind. Not going for lizards so far. Classic Metal has added on pigeons and the fox. So, just looking at the picks, I would say Bloater has the advantage here because he does have an easier way of dealing with the fox. But here we go, loading into the game.
Also, chameleons are one of the sneakiest types, which can totally take out the whole base if the army isn't there, which is
definitely
could be a really wild card play if chameleons alone can deal massive damage.
If they can get around undetected, they can definitely catch you off guard. So let's have a look at our players. We have Bloater in the north of the map as Belafid once again, and Classic Metal to the south as Hopper on the map Hilltop.
Of course, Hilltop named for the giant hilltop in the middle of the map.
Of course. We tried to come up with interesting names for the map so far, and I have to say, I do like what we came up with.
I don't know how you get to the breadbasket thing. Can someone explain that?
Good question.
I think that was Shoefly Pie or AV Ultima's name. It's sort of, I guess it has a low ground with a few hills around it, so you could see it as a bowl. But why it's a breadbasket, I don't know. Maybe someone had been talking to Brotenko, and that's what happened. So
Right.
both players going for 8 farms, adding on some tier 1. Same thing we saw last game.
Bloater going for squirrels, Classic Metal going for lizards. Both players going for those 2 tier 2s. Their time is going to be very similar, of course, because they've both gone for that economic 8 farm build, as opposed to about a standard 7 farm or a rush 5 or 6 farm into Warren.
And Bloater has chosen to add on toads as his area of effect units rather than skunks. So we'll see if they actually come into play. Both players just trying to scout out what the other one is doing, And I guess this map, it is up to Blue Bellafeed to figure out where to expand to. Would you agree with that?
I think the best expansion would be for the blue to go to the far east. That position is really great, and it offers this almost double-way passage to the red space, and controlling there. And I think the classic metal already realizes that and places his army there to maybe, have a look at what's going up there.
Yeah, I think it's also the strongest option that Blode as Bellafeed has on this map, because it's probably the hardest base to contest for classic metal.
Well, this map is called Hilltop. I doubt that a lot of action actually goes on the Hilltop. It's more on that other choke place, as far as my games went.
Yeah, definitely a lot of the action happening around the sides. Either to that nice hidden pass in the east, or the chain of mills in the west.
Okay, so both players had built just tier 1 up until now, but Classic Metal is going to add on the Fox Warren at just about 3 minutes. And then we'll see how Blode reacts to this.
Classic Metal's tier 3 is really exposed to the run-by of lizards there, if
it is.
Blode had lizards.
Yeah, if Blode had lizards and could scout it, it is kind of hard to scout it. It would take a lot of time. Blode is actually coming forward aggressively here, bringing in his toads. Not few explosions going off, mostly on Blode's own squirrels, but Blode does have more squirrels alive right now, and it looks like Blode is going to take this engagement. The pigeon support again coming through. And now Blode has this hill advantage, and his squirrels are going to stay alive, while Classic Metal has to try and pull this back. He's already lost one Warren. Blode has a few squirrels alive. Reinforcements are slowly coming in. I can see Classic Metal bringing this back sooner rather than later, but still, it is costing him a lot of time. Classic Metal felt like he had to sell his Fox, actually, to hold this off, which I think is a huge win for Blode.
He has no MGs. That's one of the core reasons he can't drop the defenses immediately.
Yeah, so Classic Metal had to sell his Fox to hold this defense. It definitely looks like it was necessary, because both players are struggling to reinforce right here. So Blode, whether he knew it or not, definitely delayed the tier 3 timing for Classic Metal here.
Classic actually hit no units on the field for a couple seconds there, but was able to reinforce slightly faster than Blode. Blode, of course,
definitely
on top now.
Ahead in the game right now.
Yeah.
Classic Metal forced to sell a Warren and losing a Warren as well. Blode has 24 squirrels, while Classic Metal only has 6 and 9 lizards. So Blode is just going to go in again, and toads are exploding mostly in Blode's favor, and Blode can just go in and probably crush this game. Pigeons are still alive, and Classic Metal, he knows it. He will give up. So that is it. Blode will advance to the lower bracket finals. And Classic Metal will take 4th place in the map draft tournament January campaign of week 3. It's not quite summer yet, although I wish it was. That was quick compared to our other games.
Quick indeed.
All right, we do have the next lobby set up. Of course, it's going to be Xeno Coop versus Chip from Space. It's going to be No Tails Land. Xeno's going to be Bellafeed in the north, and Chip's going to be Hopper in the south. We haven't seen No Tails Land yet this stream.
No, we
No
haven't.
Tails Land is not played all that much, although I would love to say that the Bellafeed has the advantage there.
Yeah, definitely looks like a map where Bellafeed is favored, because he does have the 2 high ground bases to work with, whereas Hopper only has 1 safer expansion, which does have a run by all the way to the west of the map. So, looks like the map seed hasn't been set in the lobby currently. So we're just waiting for that to be done. Yep. I'll have to restart the lobby because they forgot to set the map seed. It is fine. So yeah, with this we'll actually have seen 5 out of 7 maps after this game. Which is going to be... I did not expect this. I thought most players would be going for the same maps like Breadbasket, which seems to be really popular. But apparently, I think it was Chip who chose the map. So Chip from Space favoring No Tails Land.
Adjusting his
Knowing that-
build, I actually thought he was going to go with his main build, but it seems that he's taking his time to adjust it. Xeno Coop going with his probably one of the best builds with ferrets. Very aggressive, very poke-like, but can be stretched into endgame as well.
Alright, we'll just have to wait for our players to exit out of the game, as of course you cannot back out of deck selection in unit selection, excuse me, in online games. Slight hiccup. And Deadbones is chiming in on chat, of course, that Bellafeed probably does have the advantage on No Tails Land with the high ground bases, but from the games we've seen so far, no game has actually gone beyond 2-base play with it actually mattering, so we'll see if it actually comes into play this time.
Yeah, Hilltop was the clear example where one base aggression, the whole game was decided that Classic Metal actually built a tier 3, hence he didn't have enough army, and Bloater just had more army, and then he sold off, regrouped, and just finished his opponent just because it was tier 3.
It's good execution in that game, but it looks like we do have our upper bracket semi-final starting right now. Xeno Coop versus Chip from Space on a No Tails Land. So we have Chip from Space playing as Hopper to the southeast of the map, with Xeno Coop in the north as Bellafeed.
Alright, that nice high ground from Xenocoop, 2 very protected bases on that high ground. Chip from Space does have the two flying units, except for Owl, so he will have vision onto the high ground fairly early, as he should if he's going to assault Xenocoop. Xeno, of course, with his own pigeons, and with Owl, which we've seen him use pretty well in the last few tournaments, to the fact that Owl Bomb, of course, when the Owl dies, spewing out 6 mice all at once, is able to push over a lot of fights all in a row.
Interestingly, Chip went for 5 farm squirrels, which is not something we've seen today, and Xenocoop feels like he has to react, so he's going to put down squirrels on his 6th Warren. We'll see if Chip can actually do something with these early squirrels he built.
It may be a fake out, to be honest.
He's still going to be a little bit behind in economy.
Yeah, Chip's going to have a really hard time assaulting uphill without at least getting some pigeons first. And Xenocoop, of course, very smart player, very calculated, knows exactly where to put his units in order to use some sort of shield in front of them, or knows how many units.
Warren positioning from Xeno is really strong here to defend against any type of aggression. He's just staying near his units just in case, I think, but Chip isn't going to attack, so he's just going to take a bit of an economic loss here because he built his unit so early. It might not matter in the long run, but definitely Xeno should feel good about this.
Would love to point out that Chip has Falcons, which definitely could threaten the other base the Xeno controls there.
Because oddly enough, there are a few ways into that base. You can go all the way on the west, or just go through the middle, and then you can get up to high ground. The first level of high ground to bring Falcons in range quite easily, which isn't something you can always do. So despite Bellafeed having high ground bases, they're not so easily defended as most high ground bases typically are. But let's talk about what's actually going on. Xenocoop is going to go up to 9 squirrels, is building his trademark ferrets, with Chip going for squirrels and some pigeons, and stacking up quite a bit of food to go for falcons.
Yeah, both players even in army value right now. And of course, both getting their first tier 2s out with a similar number of tier 1s, although Chip from Space, of course, has those pigeons for high ground vision. As Xenocoop playing with those lovely ferrets, which will be able to pick away at Chip from Space's units should he venture too close.
Interesting that Xeno is looking to pressure him really early with ferrets, given his defensive position.
It's probably just a good screen to get an expansion up behind it, as he will get that mill. And Chip's Warrens are fairly exposed actually, so he's going to have to be careful. 2 more shots on that Warren. And it is down to just about 20 HP, so Chip has to be pretty careful not to lose a few Warrens here and there. He's going to try and take this fight to see if he can push Xeno back. He has Falcons up alive. Falcons is doing quite a bit of damage, is getting targeted now. Does get healed, Chip pulls it back just in time, but Xeno's ferrets are well and healthy. And I think Xeno comes in ahead right now because he does manage to take out one of Chip's Warrens right there.
He also
And-
has, machine gun nests. That's the main advantage here, I think. Setting a strong point down there is a really way.
Yep, the machine gun nest does go down, but it does cost Chip another Falcon, and again, the ferrets are alive. Although there's no more squirrels alive for Xeno, these Falcons are working out quite well for Chip, I have to say. And now Xeno lost his machine gun nest, has to wait for reinforcements, and Chip smells an advantage, although he does feel like he has to pull back. Really explosive fight so far. Again, Xeno's just gonna keep piling on the pressure. It's probably what he feels like he needs to do here with these ferrets. Knows when to engage, knows when to pull back, but if these Falcons can stay in position and Chip can just keep them alive a little bit, then okay, ferret goes down for Xeno, but the Falcon's still alive, 3 heal stacks on it, so Chip is actually cleaning up this fight. And now it's up to Chip to deny Xeno this expansion. With having the Falcons for high ground vision, and Xeno doesn't have an answer for this. He has to wait for his ferrets, has to wait for his reinforcements. So Chip from space successfully denying this expansion attempt from Xeno. But now we've hit about 4 minutes and 40 seconds, and players will have to expand. Chip grabbing a base to the northeast of his map, a base to the northeast of his main base, and is going to go fight right away. Falcon's going out a bit in front, and Xeno is just going to give up right then and there. Alright.
Yeah,
Chip
Xeno-
showing really strong here.
Xeno dropped those ferrets to get that expansion, but with that immediate aggression from Chip, I knew that he just couldn't make it.
Yeah, maybe unexpected aggression from Chip to go in that fast, but he did have most of his units still alive. So Chip seeing that he could just go right away. So Chip is going to be up 1-0 in this best of 5 against last week's champion Xeno Coop.
All right, and Chip from Space is going to go for the trench, the last map that we have not seen yet. And Xeno Coop's going to go for Bellafide, which of course leaves Chip from Space as Hopper in the north.
All right.
I think
so we
Trench
have-
is one of the most balanced maps in terms of, well, the Bellafide has certainly a bit of an advantage. The Hopper can pressure really easily. And once again, the mines aren't really, there's no place to land them, and the nice trench in the middle provides something. I think the Xeno, if he pulls out the strategy like he did again with the ferrets, it could suit him very well, this map.
Yeah, it's definitely a good map for ferrets, I think. Just gonna wait for the players to set the correct map seed, and then we can get going. Definitely seems like a map that would favor Xeno's style, where he can get some bases, get some economy going. Hopper actually has one of the safest expansions we have in this entire map pool on the trench map, with like a base all the way in the west corner of the map, which Bellafide has no way of contesting. So it's definitely an option.
Actually, you can contest. You can actually bring the ferrets down there. It's quite protected there. There's a small gap which you could walk.
That's true, I guess. Then it does leave your army a bit weakened, so it could force into a trade. We'll see if any of these things happen.
All right,
Looks
bear
like
with
we
us
have
for-
some issues. Yeah. We'll figure it out. This is the first time we're trying to run a tournament with fixed maps, so everyone's still trying to figure out how to run this most efficiently. We'll get it going, though. Looks like we might have a lobby remake.
Yeah, Chip from Space has been in this position before in the semifinals, even in the grand finals sometimes, beating his way back up from the loser's bracket, and hasn't yet been able to pull off the tournament. So we'll see if he loses to Xeno Coop and manages to win again.
Well, he did manage to win the Strawberry Cup yesterday,
Oh, my bad.
which is no small feat, because he did have to fight his way through Blowdeer. And let me just look at these brackets real quick. Yeah, Chip beating out Brepost and Blowdeer, who are 2 really strong players right now, so definitely a feather in his cap, I think. But it looks like we do have everything set up to get Game 2 going between Xeno Coop and Chip from Space. Just waiting for our players to ready up. And then
I
we
predict a lot of action in the middle. Mostly same
yes,
as
there's a lot
was in
of
previous games.
area to be contested for both of these players. So chances are they will be looking to compete for the space in the middle. We are in the army selection right now. Xenocoop going for the owl and the ferret again so far. Chip going for ferrets of his own. So far, fairly mirrored builds. This is definitely a map where falcons and ferrets seem really strong.
No signature board yet from Chip.
Yeah, he was using it last week to great effect, but then he went Fox to counter that very same board against other players, so he's going to go for the Fox here again. Though we didn't see Tier 3 coming into play last game, we'll see if it's any different now. So without further ado, let's introduce our players again. We have Chip from Space as Hopper in red in the northwest of the map, and Xenocoop as Belafide to the east in blue, playing on the trench. And what looks like, at first glance, a map that's easily split into defenses. There's actually not that much space to build. So we'll see how this actually plays out, and the players are forced to sort of expand toward each other after a while.
Yeah, interesting to note, Xenocoop has no structures, so doesn't really have a way to counter that fox besides maybe the ferrets. But of course, if Chip from Space's micro is good enough, you can just dance around those ferret shots. It
Well,
does have skunked out.
I would say that Xeno has the owl, which is just a free soak for the fox bullets. So if Xeno can get his tier 3 up, then I feel like the fox doesn't really have a good target. Xenocoop's going to go for 7 farm Warren, whereas Chip went for 8 farms. So Xeno's going to have a slight lead in army value at first, but we'll see if it comes into play at all.
You can clearly see from Warren placement which is planning to defend and which is planning to attack here.
Yeah, Chip definitely feels like he needs to secure this high ground before anything else, even though he has the very safe expansion all the way to the west of the map. And Xenocoop looks like he wants to play defensive and just get his army going, and then figure out where he wants to go from there. Alright. Players getting their armies up and running. Xenocoop is going to go 2 tier 1 into Ferret Warren right away, with Chip opting to add in more squirrels for now. He's building up some food, so he may be going for these falcons again, which we saw in game 1. And he is going to go for falcons, so pretty much a mirror from last game. No pigeons out for either player yet, well, they could be very strong again. Chip is quite aggressive with these squirrels.
And Xenocoop is going to have to use his positioning really well before those falcons come out. Here we go. Squirrels going down from both sides, but it looks like...
Chip snipes a farm.
Yeah.
Really nice play there. Did have the higher squirrel count for a while. And Chip will capitalize on that, so now Xeno does have his ferret up, whereas Chip is still waiting for his first falcon. So Xeno could push, but he's a little bit scared. Trying to build this farm up again. And we'll have to see which direction the players end up going to.
I think the Chip doesn't have pigeons this time, which could actually put falcons in a little bit more... You know, the falcons are really great damage dealers, but they HP is so low that they can't really sometimes trade in efficiently if they don't have meat shield or the healing things.
Yeah, I'd assumed Chip had pigeons, but he doesn't actually have them, which is a great point. So he is going to have to be really careful with these falcons. There were a few times last game where he managed to micro them back just in time, just so they could get healed up again. It looks like Xeno is going to be looking to expand first here. He's built the mill, but no farms on it quite yet. He's keeping his army in a rather defensive position.
Chip is building up his falcon force, which suggests to me that he might peel Expo if Xeno decided to build an offensive Expo, but Xeno went with defensive Expo far in the back.
Yeah,
and is actually checking
not that common. Yeah, Xeno cleverly checking the safe expansion from Chip, and Chip might be getting it now. It's not been scouted. Alright, bit of a cheeky play. See if Xeno goes back to scout it. It's not that common, I think, for players to go up to 4 Falcons this fast, this early in the game. Looks like Chip feels like now's the time to go. He has some toads and some squirrels. I don't know if toads are the play here against this many squirrels from Xeno. It's going to be pretty tricky.
This trench will be filled with bones soon, I think.
Bones and toads. Xeno grabs this base, it just tanks some damage. He spent 120 food on this. Chip is trying to push forward. Bilgit is going to be taking out a ferret. He still has 3 Falcons alive. These Falcons are tearing through Xeno's squirrel army, and Xeno trying to build a mill to soak damage, but it may have cost him a bunch of food. Chip is going to snipe a Warren. Just going to lose another Falcon, but its reinforcements are coming in. Snipes another Warren. Despite Xeno having the economic advantage, looks like Chip might just pull ahead in army value right here. Chip loses another Falcon, only has 1 alive right now. This Toad is going to come in, is going to detonate. So now Xeno lost a farm. Chip is still looking healthy with all of his units. Xeno has to push this back right now if he wants to stay in this game. But here comes another Falcon from Chip. Chip is just looking to brute force his way to another victory here. And Xeno is trying to reinforce. If he loses this base, he still has a backup. But is it going to be enough? Because now all of his Warrens are exposed. Chip is going to look to clean these up. Xeno might be looking for a last stand here with as many squirrels as he can get, with his Warrens tanking, but with this Falcon alive, it's outputting so much damage. I think this is just Chip's game to take, unless Xeno with these final squirrels and a pigeon can clean it up, but I think this Falcon is just too strong for Xeno. And that's it.
It is. I think Xeno played a little bit too greedy, placing 3 farms before even discovering enemies Expo, I think. And also that, Expo buy.
Yeah, he bought the expansion
That's
twice.
That's a lot of food. That's a lot of food. If you count 120 plus 180 in farms invested,
and
plus Expo.
The important part is that he didn't win the fight because of it. So despite Xeno Coop trying to soak damage with the mill there, I think it completely backfired. Right, so let's figure out which map the players are going to be playing next. Three times even. I counted twice, but I may have missed it. Okay, so I am being told that Xeno Coop built the mill 3 times possibly, which is even more food wasted. And yeah, I think that definitely backfired, and then Chip just kept his Falcons alive just long enough, despite not having pigeons. So I don't know if the Toads did that much. Maybe having pigeons would have been stronger.
There weren't so much squirrels for Falcons to be like a huge issue. The Falcons generally can kill and sustain a lot more. The Falcons doesn't trade as well if there's a lot of squirrels, but the game weren't progressed in that state where both of them had like 16 squirrels or around that count.
Alright, looks like our next map is going to be, Captain?
It's going to be roundabout, and it looks like Xeno Coop is going to go for Bellafeed in the south, which leaves Chip from Space as Hopper in the north.
I think I mentioned that we had seen all of the maps after this match, but I was actually wrong because we haven't seen Roundabout yet. So
Roundabout, I didn't play it, but I really want to see the D-Day landing on the Hopper side through that water.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd ways to run around this particular map. There's no real path in the middle. There's a lot of I'm expecting most of the action to be on the west side of the map. But there is always the option for a run-by on the east. So we'll have to see if either of that comes into play. Looks like we're having a lobby remake. So that's too many observers. But we will get there. And then once we have the map seed set, we can get this 3rd game in this series going. Chip from Space, perhaps surprisingly, up 2-0 against Xeno Coop after losing the last week's finals to the same Xeno. So have to see if Xeno can pull it back. And here we are in the army selection. With
Instant mines from Xeno.
Yeah, Xeno Coop versus Chip. Game 3 in this best of 5, with Chip from Space being up 2-0. And I think mines are definitely a strong pick on this map because there's quite a few choke points that you can just control with good mine placement. We'll have to see if Chip can scout them out with an item, and Chip is going to go for a wolf here.
No structures for Xeno.
Alright, so Chip from space, again as Hopper, I do believe, in the north map, with Xeno a Coop all the way in the south as Bella feed. And yes, the mines from Xeno, we'll have to see where he ends up placing them, but I feel like they can definitely do a lot of damage, because there's only so much space your units will actually walk on a map like this, with this much water and like the hill in the middle. And what do you think about this wolf pick? Because both players actually went for the wolf.
I don't see any particular reason someone would pick a wolf on this roundabout map. I think that may suggest that players are willing to go for a bit longer game, which is really unclear to me.
Question is, are they picking the wolf to buff their economy, or are they looking to go with wolf and falcon, perhaps?
If I think of it, this map has the longest distance to the enemy we have seen so far, right?
Sure.
So maybe wolf makes sense in that sense that you could go for a longer game. And both players, picking tier 3 doesn't mean that you have to use it.
And talking about a long distance map, Xeno Cooper is just going to go falcon first.
Yeah, that was 7 farm falcon that we saw. Chipper's base just going for the normal 7 farm into squirrels, I believe.
And Chip did scout that Xeno went tier 2 first, so we'll see if he tries to do anything about it. Xeno has the mines to try and defend. So we will see if it comes into play. Xeno is adding on some squirrels to do a bit more standard, but Chip is coming in with these squirrels, but with how big this map is and not being able to go through the middle, Xeno might just have enough units out in time. His second Falcon is going to pop out as this fight starts, so here comes Chip. He's going to be looking to pick off a farm if he can, but he's quite careful about it. Just going to come in range of this pig. It is going to go down, and it looks like he is going to try and retreat now. So he's going to take his 1 farm win and retreat. But these Falcons can go through the water, so they will eventually catch up with the squirrels despite the road. So Chip does lose quite a few things on the retreat.
Three squirrels. The food is matched, but it got a time from economy. Slow down a bit.
Yeah, and Xeno hasn't started rebuilding the farm yet, so Xeno is behind just a little bit in terms of economy here. And Chip has opted for his own Falcons, and Chip is going to be ahead in army count for a while because Xeno has has a base going already. And he is going to add on some mines on the east side of the map, Xeno Coop. So he is could have, if there is an attack there, he will know about it as the mine goes up. But in the meantime, he's not paying attention to his army, with Chip from space coming in trying to clean this up, and Xeno Cooper losing his expensive Falcon. Although Chip lost a bit more squirrels than maybe he should have, but taking out the Falcon is definitely a good thing for Chip.
Yeah, Chip jumped up to equal Xeno Coop's army value right before that fight, and then dived in just at the right moment, and is now a little bit far ahead, about 2 tier 2s ahead. Xeno Coop, of course, reinforcing with that Falcon there, so starting to climb back. But excellent timing from Chip, whether he intended to do that just by feel, or whether he was watching his unit timers to go in at the right time.
And
Xeno has pigeons as well, I would like to mention, instead of Chip having them, so that could play into longer games.
Adding in some pigeons here, which are definitely going to help against the ferrets that Chip could be going for. But interestingly enough, both players do go for an expand, and are sort of playing this map a bit more passive than maybe we've seen in the past. And as sort of predicted, they are favoring the west side of the map here. With Xeno reinforcing his position with a few landmines, not too many. Gonna add in some skunks and just slowly work on his economy. Whereas Chip went for another Falcon Warren, it looks like, so just squirrels and falcons. Squirrels and flying squirrels, one would say. Xeno is going to be ahead in economy, despite losing the farm early if Chip doesn't start building farms again.
Chip going up to 4 Falcons, where Xeno Coop has gone for Skunks instead. Interesting to see how that affects the army, considering that the majority of Chip's power is in the air as Falcons.
Well, Chip does have more squirrels than Xeno as well. not that many, but Xeno is it's still in the process of adding in more squirrels. But Chip is going to have to be a little bit careful about these landmines. I don't believe he scouted them. There is a chance he knows about them. Okay, he probably knows they're there because he's being really careful. Okay, one landmine goes off, so most of the squirrels are actually pretty low. Okay, so Chip has to pull back, losing half of his squirrels, and Xeno tries to take an engagement off of it, but Chip is just going to retreat, and Xeno says, okay, I will build farms. And now Chip has to work on his economy, but also has to reinforce his amount of squirrels. And I think Xeno has somehow managed to pull back into this game, despite losing a farm so early.
Past that 5-minute mark, so the first 4 farms on each player's base have farmed out. Xeno Recoup, of course, with that advantage of having expanded slightly earlier, and of bringing those farms up a little bit earlier, on 12 farms to Chip's base's 10.
I think it's also important to note that on a map like this, Battlefield has a lot easier time to get the bases all the way in the east, but it looks like Chip is preparing for another attack, brings his entire army through the river, Skunk Gas goes off. Xeno does lose a skunk right away. Chip's Falcon's doing a lot of damage here, and Chip is actually taking out these skunks so early. Looks like he's just overpowering Xeno. Hitting the farms right now. 1 pig going down, 2 pigs going down. Is focusing the mill with his Falcons, and I think Xeno is going to lose this base. So now Xeno, all of a sudden, he had 2 skunks, but only managed to get 3 shots off in total. And now he does get another skunk out, so Chip is going to start pulling back, but Xeno lost his pigeon warren and the base. So where does Xeno go from here?
I don't know that there's much of a place that he can go. I mean, he's only got 2 farms left. Chip has 7. If Chip keeps
Xeno
being as aggressive as he is right now, Xeno doesn't have a lot of a shot.
And Xeno probably just has to pray for Chip to not move in and kill him right now, but looking at what Chip has been playing before, chances are that's not going to happen. Xeno is selling off his skunks because he needs the food to expand again. Chip looks like he's just going to do the same thing again, try and get this position. Moving in through the water, it does have a lot of toads, 9 of them in total. The squirrel numbers are even. Xeno Coop is currently starving, has about 40 seconds left. Chip is getting into position, and Xeno says, okay. Xeno is going to call it there, and with that, Chip from Space is going to be advancing to the Grand Finals, which is going to be our last match of today, and Xeno Coop is going to drop to the lower bracket, where he will face off against Blodir. And with that, do we still have a Lord Steamroller here?
I do believe, but yeah, I didn't solve the last part where Chip
that's unfortunate.
dominated.
That's fine. Yeah, so despite it looked like Xeno was going to come back in the game, but then his skunks just didn't really do anything.
What about mines?
The mines were really good. He had 1 mine which didn't do anything, but it was serving a purpose. And then the 2 mines which he had to try and defend his base did do a lot of damage to Chip's squirrels, but which held off an attack, but then Chip just went around, and Xeno didn't have the mines up to defend that time. With no... he just didn't really have his army in position, losing his skunk right away, and then the other skunk just got picked off as well. So with only 3 clouds of gas down, they didn't really get to do too much. But with that being said, we will be going into a 10-minute break. And then the next map we will see, next matchup we will see, is going to be Blodir versus Xeno Coop in the lower bracket. Round 5, coming at you for Clash of Comrades January campaign and map draft tournament. We'll be right back. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final 2 series for the January campaign Week 3 Map Draft Tournament. Once again, we are Clash of Comrades. I am Lecante, joined by Captain Fog.
Hello, friends.
LOL Steamroller.
Hello.
And behind the scenes, running everything, the big man behind the stage is Avi Ultima. Wiggle the scene or something to say that you're here. Anyways, we saw some great games on just before we had our little break, and now we have 2 more series to go through. We'll be starting off with Xeno Coup versus Belode in the lower bracket finals. It's going to be a final best of 5 tonight, and then the winner of that will be facing Chip from Space, who is awaiting in the finals, which will be a best of 7. So, without further ado, I believe everyone is more or less set. As you could see during the break, we will be playing on Breadbasket, with Xeno Coup playing as Hopper and Belode playing as Bellafeed, so we can tell our players to ready up and get started. We've talked about Breadbasket before, or Steamroller, so do you think these players are going to change any strategies, or are we going to see a similar game to what we saw in the first game?
I think the dynamic is going to change because Xeno Coup does like to pack ferrets, and the Breadbasket is one of the maps which you kind of get a close distance, and the middle mills are highly contested in general. Also, there's that nice little high ground, and I think ferrets could be very well used here.
We see right away Xeno Coup going for those ferrets and falcons and skunks.
And yeah, I wanted to say, I just got in the game, but I don't think the owl is good here when Xeno realizes that.
Interesting. Why do you think the owl is not good?
Because the distance isn't. It's really hard to get it up, and but he didn't pack
Right.
3, which makes me think he's going for a quite aggressive push and trying to finish and roll the game from that on.
Yeah, we might see a similar game which we saw from between Classic Metal and Belode.
I don't think we are going to see 2 base plays. I think this will be solely decided on one single push.
Yeah, this does look like the kind of map for it. But let us introduce our players before we get too carried away. We have Xeno Coup playing as Hopper, which is a familiar color for him, in the northwest of the map, and in the southeast we have Belode in blue as Bellafeed. Looks like both players are going for 7 farms so far. On a small map like this, it's not uncommon to go for a 7-farm Warren, I think, but since they know the map, they're just at each other's base, looking to see what the other one is doing.
Bloody has packed balloons, which kind of tells me that he wants to establish the mid control, having a strong point from which he could direct an attack and get his fox out and to poke the Xeno Coup. And Xeno Coup obviously is going to mount a lot of pressure as fast as he can, in order, especially with the tier 2, not tier 1s.
Yeah, I think Xeno's tier 2 game could be really strong here. He'll have to control his skunks, ferrets, and falcons, depending on what he goes for, but he does have the pigeons to back it up. So far, Belode is going for a heavier tier 1 army, with Xeno just scouting out what he was doing and is going to add in some squirrels of his own. About the balloon Belode has, I'm not sure there's any really good spots for it, so he will have to be careful where he places it, I think. But we will see.
It will ceremonially as a hard point for mounting an offensive and maybe protecting the closest expansion to his base.
I suppose he does also have a fox, so it could serve as a position to attack from with that fox. But Xeno Coup, after getting 3 squirrel warrens, is going to go for his first skunk warren, with Belode just adding on squirrels, it looks like.
Skunks should be very effective against mainly squirrel army.
We'll have to see if Xeno can control his skunk a little bit better than he did last game, where unfortunately Chip completely destroyed the skunks before they even got to do anything. No pigeons yet from either player.
High ground could be a lot to deal, but he decides to back off.
Doesn't quite feel confident to take a fight there. And
Xeno Coup didn't have pigeons on the field yet, so
yeah, neither player actually has pigeons. There is not too much high ground though, so Blizzard is actually going to go around poking at this Warren. This skunk gets going down for Xeno. Bloater's going to stay in this fight. Thinks he can take it. Maybe he can. The squirrels are actually not currently being gassed.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he took out most of Xeno's squirrels, but in the end is forced to retreat. I think it's a slight win for Bloater. But Xeno now has 2 skunks.
Yeah, Xenocoup reinforced a lot faster than Bloater. They are almost equaling in army value right now, but both players lost almost the exact same number of units. Bloater lost 1 more squirrel.
Xeno is going to try and use this road to micro his skunks. Unfortunately, gets stuck just a little bit. Bloater has his own skunks, which aren't taking any damage right now, are kind of running through this fog. Bloater is the first player to add on pigeons. Xeno still doesn't have any. I really liked how Xeno used the road there to bring his skunks forwards and backwards, and this is just the same we saw in the first game today. Bloater pulling his skunk back, living with 1 HP, getting healed up now, but Xeno is laying down a lot of gas. Yeah, pigeons
really
definitely
important.
working out. Definitely the pigeons doing a good job here. Xeno has to go back and stabilize before he can add in any pigeons. Okay, so he sells a squirrel warren to be able to afford his pigeons, which is probably the right play. So now both players are exactly even in terms of warren counts. Xeno's going to try and get this base up. Have to see if he can get it. Bloater just puts down some gas, but Xeno can hide behind his mill and wait for those pigeons to come up. Of course, the skunks can't target mills anymore, so he will have to move forward and try and hit Xeno's units rather than start putting gas down on this mill.
Bloater has a heavy pigeon lead, which is
Xeno's
really important in this game level.
Xeno's mill is pretty low, but Xeno does come forward here to try and defend it. A lot of gas around the area. But Bloater, he's got a second pigeon warren now, and more squirrel warrens, though not more squirrels currently. And Xeno instead is going to opt for ferrets. Bloater's going to try and push forward again. This mill looks like it's going to go down. If Bloater just comes from the south again, it backs off just in time. With the skunk, there's a lot of gas in either direction, but both players are actually doing a really good job of staying out of the gas. Xeno pushing forward now, trying to seal the deal here. He's going to lose one of his skunks, with Bloater still having both of his alive. And with that, Bloater suddenly takes a lead in army value until Xeno's ferret is going to come out.
Yeah, this army value graph has been almost exactly mirrored from both players. One player getting a tiny bit of advantage and then losing it in the next fight until that recent fight. Just then, as Xenocoup fell to about half the army value.
Now it's up to Xeno's signature ferrets to actually do a lot of damage here, but Bloater does have the pigeons to keep his skunks alive, so he's going to be going on the aggressive here, keeping his squirrels stationary and just moving his skunks back and forth, putting down the gas. But Xeno does have the pigeons to deal with that now. One skunk does get taken out for Bloater, so maybe that is going to be the sign for Bloater to retreat, keeping his skunk in front just a bit too long there. And one base play for both players, Xeno having lost an expansion. I don't know
Xeno
if
played with fire when he tried to add that to ferret. It was really close, but now the ferret is on the field. It can actually kill squirrels without pigeons being able to heal it, and it can also kill skunks pretty effectively.
But Bloater is going to push forward into this, but I don't know if he has enough units for this. He just aggressively went for it, but Xeno is actually going to keep a skunk and a ferret alive, with Bloater currently only on 3 squirrels, having to sell a few
Keeping ferret alive with amazing micro was what could actually win the game here.
I think there was a mistake from Bloater, thinking he had more, was stronger than he thought he was. Tries to get up a balloon, but he has to sell it right away. Bloater is on his last legs here, doesn't have any skunks anymore, so he has to kill this skunk from Xeno, which he does. So now Xeno is on 3 squirrels and a ferret. Does have another skunk. Okay, so Xeno is stronger in tier 2. Both players are starving. Bloater on 47 seconds, with Xeno on about 5 seconds less. This mill is going to go down for Xeno. Don't know if Xeno can afford to lose this food. Xeno sold his skunks, it looked like. Or he still has his ferrets, and now...
We'll boil down to micro. Can Bloater dodge the shots now?
He can dodge the skunk shots, but there are still a few ferrets from Xeno. Both players still starving. Bloater does manage to get a farm up, whereas Xeno has to wait just a little bit. Oh, Xeno feels like he is forced to sell his ferrets. Does get a farm up now, but Bloater has the lead in squirrel numbers here, and if this mill goes down, then it's going to be Bloater's game to take, and it looks like Xeno is going to give up here. So Bloater is going to take game 1 on Breadbasket in a very explosive game.
I think it boiled down to Bloater having pigeons first, which was really, really well. He had the pigeon lead for most of the game, and while he did lost on the offensive while attacking Xeno's base, the pigeons stayed and healed and recovered a lot of food which could be lost.
Yeah, definitely looks like the pigeons coming into play a whole lot in these very explosive one base games, where the players have to keep their tier 2 alive as much as possible, because they only have so much food to work with before they run out. And it came really close, both players almost starving. So, Captain, looks like players have chosen the next map and spawn.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be Nomad's Pass. We're waiting to see which spawn Xenocoop is going to take.
Hopper.
It's probably seems to be the favored commander on Nomad's Pass, which we did see from Classic Metal versus Bloater, which was the one map that Classic Metal did win. And yes,
Hopper confirmed.
is going to go for Hopper. Picks Bellafeed instead, but we'll fix it.
Just to remind, Nomad's Pass is the map where the Bellafeed, aka Blooddeer, has to attack, and Hopper can sit in defense. So let's see how Xeno uses. I would expect Xeno to pick an MG here and maybe, go with the ferrets and maybe even bring an owl, although I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, this was the one map which Bloater lost against Classic Metal, so we'll see if Xeno can repeat that. Looks like both players are in the army selection right here.
As mentioned, Xenocoop has MG, which he will use for defense.
Well, we've seen a lot of these players pick the MGs, but not really building them. Just confirming whether or not we actually have the correct map seed going. We may have to restart, we're not sure yet. A little bit tricky to figure out the exact way of doing this. Okay, looks like we do need a remake, because we forgot to set the seed. Not a problem. So, just need a minute until the players restart their game. So yeah, Bloater apparently not doing too well as Bellafeed on Nomad's Pass. Has lost a few games on it, and from what people have been saying, it seems to be the most imbalanced map in our pool. So you did mention that Bellafeed is on a timer.
It
So
is,
we'll
and
see if
all
we can
it
deal with
does,
it.
the Hopper has to hold. And actually, I played versus Bloodier on that same Nomad's Pass, and I didn't hold the middle expo, which caused me to get overrun, and that went. So it's really important for Hopper to not make any mistakes in defense and really set up a hard point, and only use poking units to try to grind down the food abilities of Bellafeed. As we could see from the game before, the Classic Metal, which won, he did have a Fox, and he did have a strong place.
Yeah, it was a close game near the end, but Classic Metal did manage to pull it out with that Fox play.
Mainly
So-
because the Bellafeed can't really get much economy going and attacking at the same time. The RTS keystone of balancing the army and the economy is really important on that map when mounting offensive there.
Alright, looks like Bloater is going to go for the Fox and Balloon pick again on the same map, which we did see from him earlier today. And with that, introduce our players once again. We have Bloater as Bellafeed in the northwest of this map. Which name I have forgotten. It is Nomad's Pass, yes. And Xenocoop to the south as Hopper. So, we will most likely going to see Xenocoop trying to defend and hold off Bloater's aggression until Bloater runs out of food or out of time, or something else completely could happen.
All right, no rush or cheese this game so far. Both players on 7 farms. We'll see whether they place a war in to go for 7 farm war, or whether they go for this safe 8 farm economy. We saw 8 farm economy on the last game that we saw Nomad's Pass on.
The distance between bases is pretty long, and another thing I've been wondering, I haven't seen much toads and much lizards these games. Have lizards gone out of popularity?
There's been quite a few toads actually, from what I've seen, but not necessarily to counter lizards. Especially Chip was using, in the last game against Xeno, he had 9 toads. which was surprising to me because Xeno did not have any lizards, but Chip did go with the toads, and he ended up winning the game. So there is probably some value of getting a few explosions off, even if a few toads do end up dying. So it looks like both players are going to be mirroring builds here.
Yeah,
Going
there's
for
one for
the
7-farm squirrel.
Okay,
Very
so
standard.
not quite. So they are just going to add in some squirrels. Coop having a slight lead in army value, and he is going to just grab this base to the north of his main base to get some position on this map. But he only has MG-ness to really secure territory.
This is the gameplay I really love to see, because this mill is really important, and grabbing it early clearly indicates that Xeno wants to keep Bloodier's advancement in check. Establishing a hard point there allows him to control all the 3 mills.
Very aggressive MG nests from Xeno here. And Bloater is going to try and contest it.
But
yeah, it is going to get cleaned up, and Bloater is going to end up having to retreat from this fight. So Xeno is just going to replace the MG nest. So despite Xeno having to invest in some defense and a mill, looks like he can start securing his position now, and Bloater has to wait for his squirrel numbers to come back up. Whereas Xeno can start thinking about more units. Looks like he's going for tier 2, which is going to be ferrets to start poking away at the low ground on the other side of Stettler River.
Xeno is in really good shape unless he goes too greedy, and we saw the game versus Chip where he went too greedy. He made 3 farms, and that actually lost him the game. And Bloodier's is going to try and be as aggressive as possible.
Bloater going to try and go around these MG nests. Not the greatest engagement for him so far. Does have a squirrel lead, but in this quarter it's going to take a while for his units to actually get in range. Bloater is starting to add on pigeons, so Xeno is kind of starved for food. His ferrets are very delayed right now. Oh, Bloater's
The problem is
reinforcements.
that reinforcements are running into MG nests, even if Bloater
Yes.
makes and does
But
the good
Bloater
job
has
with
a
attacking
position
build.
in this map now. He only has a few squirrels alive, but he does have squirrels alive, which aren't being targeted by these MG nests, so Bloater has managed to infiltrate Xeno Coop's base, but looks like he was just going to pull back now. Trying to work around these MG nests, but having to go through the water is kind of awful for him. He does have a skunk out, so see if he can manage this skunk well enough. He's going to start laying down some gas, but Xeno already has pigeons. He's going to take out an MG from Xeno. The skunk is quite healthy still, and the gas is starting to stack up. Skunk is on 2 HP, Bloater pulling it back just in time, and Xeno currently has no squirrels building still. Bloater's going to take out this warren, and is contesting this mill right now. Skunk coming forward, putting down more gas. It does get taken out, so Xeno has a chance to push here. Was forced
Really
to sell his
interesting with
ferrets.
Bloater losing stuff to the MG nests there up on north.
Unfortunately, Bloater has lost quite a few squirrels to those MGs. And finally, it
I
looks
counted
like his offensive
5 or
gets taken
6
up.
even, and even Skunk got a bit tagged.
Yeah, and one of the MG nests is about half HP from those squirrels running by, and that is gonna be it. Bloater, his attack fails.
I would love to say the Bloater did a really good job, and Xeno almost lost due to his frontal. Like, MGs were a bit too high there, but in the end, Xeno somehow managed to get enough food for defense, and Bloater did not
the
manage to
reinforcement
rout.
distance. The reinforcement distance for Xeno was a lot shorter.
And also,
and
Bloater was just bleeding reinforcements there.
yes, very unfortunate. With the well, it's good from Xeno to secure the correct position there to make that happen. It looks like Xeno is going to be picking, Captain. Do we know?
Yes, looks like Xeno is going to pick the map. It's going to be Lizard Lagoon, and Bloater is going to choose the spawn. He's going to be Red Bellafeed, or Red Hopper, which means Xeno Coop forced to take Blue Bellafeed in this swampy, bridgy, rivery map.
Okay.
This is interesting since the Bloater played Bellafeed, and we saw the Bellafeed there, and he played Bellafeed extremely well for that map, I think. As to recap, he did a defensive mill and set up his economy, not opting for one base pushes he's known for. And let's see if Xeno will make a similar plan to that as well.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting way that Bloater played Lizard Lagoon last time. So now, looks like we'll need another lobby remake to set the seat properly. Which is just fine. As I believe we have a 1-1 right now. I'm just going to be remaking the lobby. Oops, should not be doing that.
Not playing Xeno today, like context?
Not today. Alright, so we have the map seed set, that looks correct. We have players picking the correct commanders, and we just get AV Ultima into Xenocoop's lobby, and then we are good to go. Apologies for these slight delays, but we are trying our best. And we are into the army selection. Players
As you can
switching
clearly
commands
see,
this time.
the Xeno is going for defensive, build up an economy, then get an owl type of build.
Yep. Owl
And
Falcon.
Bloodr picking chameleons, which is somehow usable on this map. It did have a little bit of impact there, since the chameleons have a surprise element to them.
This looks like the same units he went with playing this map before, although he is on the other side this time.
It
So,
doesn't make
players-
them much worse for the map
No,
in general.
it's the same
right?
map. So players have switched commanders this time. It is 1-1, so an even score right now. We have Bloder playing as Hopper in red this time to the south of the map, and Xenocoop as Bellafeed to the north on the map of Lizard Lagoon, which is known for its beautiful swamps, diverse fauna and flora, and its long games.
Of course, that water slowing both players down as they run through it. The units will be slowed down as well. Of course, to go across the bridges to keep their speed up. Or pick at your enemy as they come across the field.
Yep, definitely the turrets and sniper balloon could be very strong on this map, which we did see in the other game. And it looks like we did have an observer crash, so bear with us, stream. We're not going to restart the game, we just have to get AV in the game and try and sort this out if he can catch up. Just a moment. Then
Well,
again,
nothing
we-
interesting has been happening so
yeah,
far.
then again, if we do have to remake, at least we don't have to deal with the map being in someone else's favor because we are playing the map draft. Just have to see if AV can get back into this game.
Both players are stacking squirrels.
Yep, just have to figure out. We're only 2 minutes in, so we may have to remake. Okay, we have the stream again. Just need to figure out if we can catch up. Okay, we are gonna have to remake. Right, that is fine. Nothing really has happened, so unfortunately, shall blame Andy Schatz or Dexter for this. It is fine. So, hope we don't crash next time.
Game is in alpha.
These things will happen. Alright. The map seed is still set. We have everyone back in the lobby, so let's hope everything goes fine this time. Do apologize for the slight hiccups, but this one is completely out of our control. Someone report the bug, thanks. Alright. So I doubt either player will really change their lineup here. Loader is going to go for the same thing. If he picks the balloon here, there we go. Alright, so let's get this game actually started. Third time's the charm. We have once again Bloated to the south playing as Hopper and Xenocoop to the north as Bellafeed.
And both players will be looking to get their expansions early.
Yes,
Hopefully
definitely.
we'll see the greedy two-base play and having a lot bigger fight than we used to.
Definitely the right map for a bit of a slower play, as we did see in the other gameplay on this map between Classic Metal and Bloated. See if it ends up being a repeat. Although Bloated has the Foxies on the other side this time, and has a slightly harder time going into the expansion from Belafid. Alright, so it looks like we're good.
A lot of dancing going on.
It's very important. Both players going for... Oh no, Xenocoop went for 7 farm, Warren Blood is going to go for 8 farm.
Yeah, interesting little bit of mind game there. Xenocoop waiting to see whether Bloodier would put down a Warren or put down a farm. And as soon as he saw Bloodier put down the farm, went back and placed his own Warren to go for 7 farm. Which does mean that unless Bloodier is really good about his timings, it's not going to know whether Xeno went for 8 or 7 farm Warren.
Probably not going to matter that much in the grand scheme of things, though, as we have seen not too many early fights in all of our series so far. Players favoring to go for a strong tier 1 force with some tier 2, maybe even
Xeno
tier 3.
wanted to get an expo, and he will get an expo as soon as the hopper leaves the field.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to get this expansion up. There we go. Delayed Bloater the scouting information for as long as possible. And Bloater isn't going to expand, he's going to add skunks instead.
I think he may try to exploit the winning place there. Like, he sees that if the Xeno is going for expansion, he could maybe take a skunks, take pigeons, and just go and kill it.
Yeah, it looks like Bloater is actually going to try and secure his forward base rather than take the base on the high ground. There are a few good spots for sniper balloons here. So maybe he's just looking to defend here with skunks, eventually pigeons, and high amounts of squirrels, or he's going to place a sniper balloon very far forward rather than be more conservative with it and go for a high ground position.
He realized that the Xeno really wants to play greedy, and he won't really contest that balloon spot.
Yeah, it's far too late for Xeno to contest this now, so Bloater is just going to get this up, and he can grab bases behind it. Meanwhile, Xeno
and I don't think Xeno really doesn't mind that, because,
Yep.
you know, he can get an economy going, and I do think that the Xeno is being a little bit too greedy, since Bloody hasn't added any of his farms now, but...
Bloater is going to go for a fox already, though. It's about 3/4 done on the Warren.
Yeah,
The
So-
fox covered with a balloon and some pigeons can definitely kill those farms up there.
And Xeno is... Go on.
Bloodier sold his one of his squirrel warrens to get that fox out, and Xenocoop has pulled ahead even further. So Bloodier had the advantage, sold those squirrels, got that fox out, and now it's about stagnant. And Xenocoop's
Yeah, Fox is going to have to do a lot of damage to make it worth it, but there are 2 MG nests in a really good position for
And
Xeno
Owl.
already.
Owl coming
Yes.
as well.
Owl is coming out for Xeno. It's going to be later than the Fox, of course, but if Xeno can get 1 or 2 Owls out here, it's going to be really strong. He's going to opt for some skunks, and Xeno doesn't have the farms in front yet. Cleverly waiting with those until he can push Bloater back. Xeno going for some more falcons and has an MG nest all the way on the east side of his base, just in case there is a fox running by. Owl does start for Xeno, but the fox is out for Bloater. It's going to be up to the front right now.
A couple
if he
pigs will
can do
die.
some damage. Not quite in range just yet. Does pick off a falcon, which is really good as well. There's a 1 farm going down for Xeno. Xeno maybe not conservative enough with his farm placement, only losing 1, so it may be fine. But losing a falcon is definitely not something he wanted to happen. But now the fox can't really go anywhere.
Owl should be there in 10 seconds.
Bloater is going to try and do more with this fox. Does get another pig. It's very nice. And another one. Alright, so definitely doing damage with this fox here. Bloater getting some farms of his own in the meantime, but the owl is up for Xeno, so the fox is going to have some difficulty targeting valuable units. Gets a shot off on the skunk. Skunk is going to live. Xeno does not have pigeons though, so it's going to take a while for the skunk to heal up.
Yeah, Bloodier had the advantage for a little bit until that owl came out. Now both players are exactly even in terms of net worth.
Xeno has to be careful to not lose his commander. Okay. There's another balloon up for Bloater. Both balloons are actually fairly healthy. The owl did die, and looks like Bloater actually lost all of his tier 1 units, so Xeno is rolling over Bloater.
Falcons did the most job there.
Yeah, Falcon's putting out a lot of damage. Bloater lost most of his tier 1 does have his Fox surviving, which is important. But Xeno, I don't know if he has the economy to do this more than once, because he did lose those farms. Blood is going to try and poke with his Fox, but there is still that MG nest in a really good position, so it is up to Xeno to try and make a push again, I think, because the Fox isn't going to do its usual thing with poking the product.
Yeah, Xeno
So
just
where does
barely
Xeno
ahead.
go from here? Bloater didn't lose any economy in that last push, and is even adding on 2 farms, whereas Xeno, he has to make this push work. He's going to lose a few pigeons, so Bloater needs to make this Fox work. The Owl is going to pop, so Xeno just opting to let it die as soon as possible, getting the mice in there. Lots of squirrels still alive. Falcon's dishing out a lot of damage, so if Xeno doesn't manage to kill this base, then Bloater's going to be very far ahead, but it looks like he's going to have just enough units still alive. Most Falcons are dead, so now Bloater is going to be starving. Does still have the Fox life. It's going to have 5 HP, 6 HP. Still a lot of
Not too much place to
squirrels.
retreat.
And the Fox does go down, so now that is going to be Xeno a coup, taking game number 3. Going up 2-1 against Bloater. That was a really aggressive Owl play, I have to say. And it definitely paid off.
Excellent timing from Xeno. He won that first engagement, even with 2 sniper balloons in place. And then second engagement, those sniper balloons just weren't there anymore. And the Fox was picking away. It picked off those 2 Falcons, which was excellent. It was 1-2, skipping all of the squirrels, but then got caught up in the massive squirrels in front. And that was pretty much just the end of the base. From there on, it was Xeno's game to take.
And Xeno just cleaned up most of Bloater's tier 1 army. The only thing he had left near the end of it was the Fox and the Chameleon for Bloater. So
I like to
Bloater,
speculate that if the Bloater had built an expansion in the back to place his farms,
it's possible,
maybe
yes.
gone a bit smoother, because the Fox would have a much more place to operate, you know. And,
yeah, if he just had
farms
the
he wouldn't be put in starving mode instantly.
if he had the mill forward to place the balloons, because I think that was a good play, but maybe put another mill down in the back to actually place the farms on.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like our next map will be the Trench.
Yes, indeed. Everybody loves the trench.
It's quite the map for a game like Tooth and Tail.
Just waiting for Blurry to choose if he's going to be Hopper. There we go. Blurry is going to be Bellafide Blue in the east, which means Xenocoop is going to be Hopper Red in the north.
Okay, looks like we do have the seed set, so we are good to go. Players are switching commanders once again. Keep in mind that due to the nature of the map draft system, the colors will swap around every now and then, so we try to keep you updated. So we will have Bloater playing in blue this time, in red, Xenocoop up 2-1 in this best of 5. So if he takes this map, he will be advancing to the grand finals to face against Chip from Space again, same as he did last week. So we will see if that ends up happening, or if Bloater can pull it back. Bloater, what do you think the players with these chameleons here?
I think from general tanking, the Chameleons can prove a surprise, and they're good with dealing MGs. And I think especially if like a player like Xeno likes to get ferrets, likes to get MGs, and likes to push aggressively, Chameleons can provide a lot of tanking power and can overpower squirrels. They're good against squirrels. They're good against mostly anything. And you can see the players aren't really picking toads anymore, which is really strange since the lizards have gone out suddenly out of favor. And no lizards, no toads, and Chameleons are good.
Alright, so we have a 4th game of the series live on the Trench. Xenocoop playing in red as Hopper this time to the northwest of the map, and in the south, or more or less in the east, we have Bloater as blue. Players have switched color once again, and it's always really interesting for me to see how players develop their own little metagame within a best of 5 or best of 7. Rather than going with what is more standard.
I think that's one of the skill ceilings of the Tooth and Tail, that you're able to play short matches the game is designed that way, so you need to adjust to your enemy, given that there's a lot of units to pick from, and you can only pick 6, and you try to find the best deck, not that you want to play, but what works best against your opponent.
Definitely a lot of mind games going on, and thinking between those 30 seconds that you have between each match, you have to decide how you're going to change your strategy, if you even want to change your strategy, and whether or not your opponent is going to change their strategy. So,
all right, we actually saw Xenocoop go for 6-farm Warren, 6-farm Squirrel Warren, if I'm not mistaken. Bloated went for normal 7.
So maybe Xeno wants to get aggressive on the map, on this map again, with ferrets, as we saw. Because he did play Chip on the same map, I do believe.
Yeah, he was on the other side. He did have those ferrets striking across the trench.
He was probably looking to do the same this time.
Yeah.
Is Xeno, unlike Chip last game, Xeno's opting for warrants on the low ground, and is just going to add on squirrels rather than going for tier 2, whereas Bloated is going to be the one to put down a tier 2 warrant first, it looks like.
I think the deck from Xeno suggests that he's willing to go for a longer game. He did pick an owl, and he's placing his warrants closer, suggesting that he's opting for a more defensive game.
But it is going to be Bloated put down a fox warren really quickly,
It was a fake out.
Xeno scouted it, so Bloated sold it, and is going to go for tier 1 instead, because Xeno is obviously going to be looking to punish what he thinks is an early tier 3. But Bloated has smartly changed his strategy. But is it going to be in time? Because Xeno does have a lot of squirrels. He's fighting into the pigs, though, so we'll see if Xeno can overpower this. It's going to take out 1 farm, but Xeno squirrels are fairly low. This is just squirrel-on-squirrel combat right now. Xeno has a few alive, might be taking out a 2nd farm just about, and is then going to have to retreat.
And Bloated doesn't have tier 3.
Yeah, Bloated doesn't have a tier 3 to follow it up with, so definitely strong timing for Xeno there. Xeno has more warrants currently, and the pigeons are already out for Xeno as well, so Bloated, I don't know if he can keep fighting this. Xeno has his own pigeons, excuse me. So Xeno's just going to go in again, taking out another farm, taking out most of Bloated's squirrels, and with this pigeon support, I think he can stay here for a while. Looking to threaten another pig does go down. Bloated's on 5 squirrels, Xeno's on 6, but obviously Xeno's is going to come in slower. Okay. So again, Bloated has to sell his economy. Xeno, no, he's not done. He's going to keep going. No pigeon support, though. So he's going to back off just a little bit. Xeno has to be careful not to overextend here, but I don't know if he even can overextend at this point.
He has healthy reinforcements. It's not like going, and every second he can afford even to take losing battles here, since
yes, he
won 3 farms and he killed 1 farm more. So
that is going to be 2 each in this best of 5.
That
so
was really interesting match
5.
in that the Bloated tried to play the mind games with tier 3, and it forced Xeno to attack immediately. While I think the Xeno was opting for a more longer game, and Xeno realized that he's going for tier 3, but it wasn't tier 3.
I'm going to interrupt. I said it's 2-2, but this is not correct. Xeno at Coop is actually going to take the series. Apologies. It's totally my bad. So, Bloated faking the tier 3 did not work out, so we will see a rematch of last week's finals with Xeno at Coop and Chip from Space. We're going to be duking it out in the final series of today. Just going to set up the lobby, and then we will be good to go.
Xeno is going to take a quick break here just to stretch his fingers and be back. We'll set things up. Interesting rematch here. We'll see if Chip can pull off a 2nd tournament in a row.
Yeah, he won yesterday's Strawberry Cup, so we'll see if he can pull back and, or if he can keep going actually and beat Xeno this time. Let's just make sure we update the brackets. So we get that sorted.
So do you think Xeno can get a better score than losing 3-0? I think Xeno may have learned something from those games. Maybe he has time to reflect on what caused them to lose the games versus Chip.
I think because we're playing on predetermined maps, I think the entire game just changes. That's we should have updated the brackets now.
There we go.
There we go. Sorted. What were you trying to say?
Was that sounding like a robot?
Yes.
Okay, everybody else is sounding like a robot.
Perfect.
Not bad.
That makes sense. It seems alright now. Of course, we get some listed destructoids in chat, but I think we're fine. Okay. So we are giving our players a small break. Of course, Xeno comes from the lower brackets, so we'll have a slight disadvantage having to play again right away. But that is fine. Looks like Chip is going to be picking the spawn, so we're waiting for Xeno to finish his break, and then he will pick the map we are playing on. Because this is a best of 7, there is a chance that we will see every single map in the same series.
Yeah, here's hoping. See the full breadth of each player's skill. It looks like the map is going to be Breadbasket for game 1 of this best of 7 set. We'll see where Chip wants to spawn.
Oh, going for the probably most explosive map first. Definitely, Breadbasket is the one base map. It seems like. We saw both players, and the 2 times we saw this map, both players were at some point starving. So we'll see if we see a repeat of that.
Yeah, you're right.
And the return of the skunk in this tournament, I personally did not expect it. We didn't really see it yesterday during the entirety of the Strawberry Cup. No one really played skunks effectively.
And missing lizards as well.
Yeah, maybe that's why skunk is so effective, because there are no lizards.
Yeah, definitely. The skunk just obliterates. It's the cheaper version of the boar, essentially. And no boar as of yet. Maybe some player would drop skunks and go for boar if there's the squirrels, like if there's a lot of squirrels there.
Yeah, that might be the strategy some players go for, is to go for that boar again, which we saw last week used to great effect by mostly Chip, but then other players adapted it as well. And then it got countered by the fox, so we may see another repeat there. But we are just giving our players a small break, and then we can get these finals underway. Been going for a while, but we're not done quite yet.
You know, I always expected skunks to be completely useless once pigeons got in the mix. I guess they do kind of negate pigeons in their own right, but I feel like it's easier to just use pigeons to counteract skunks than for
It's
more than
interesting, but they actually, while they definitely heal off the damage, they actually allow for the fight to last longer, which kind of goes better. It's better for skunks for the fight to last longer, so it's kind of interesting mechanic going on there.
All right, Chip from Space has chosen to go for a Hopper red, which means in the breadbasket. He'll be playing in the northwest, where Xenocoop will be playing as Bellafide Blue in the southeast. We're going to wait for Xeno to get back and select the correct command, and we'll be on our way.
Okay. Waiting for Xeno now, that is fine. I think it's important to remember that the latest patch did reduce the pigeon healing down from 2 to 1. So I guess there is that, in a way, does buff the skunk damage a little bit. And maybe it took a while for players to figure out that playing lizards is still kind of tricky against toads. And so instead focusing on microing a more expensive unit like a skunk, like a ferret. Ferret's definitely seeing some good play this tournament so far as well.
I love the balance, but I doubt where's the snakes going. Why the snakes aren't using if the tier 2 is getting more popular?
I mean, snake poison changed to only affecting for about 5 seconds, as opposed to affecting for 30 seconds before. So they have gotten debuffed in the last patch, unfortunately, but perhaps that's what the meta needs. Snakes OP.
Yeah, well, snakes are an interesting unit where if pigeons are too strong, snakes are useless, and then if pigeons aren't that good, then you don't really pick them, so snakes become stronger again. I do like the change of snake poison being removed on units that start healing within their own territory. So,
which makes actually the snakes a really great defensive unit, since the enemy, especially if you can, when the enemy starts attacking, you start tagging some important units and then fall back to your warrens, and they taking damage over time there.
All right,
if you have a place.
Going into unit selection here.
We will have AV Ultima rejoining us in just a moment, but players are just picking their units, so we shouldn't be missing too much. Waiting for Chip to actually realize the game has started. Oh! It is a small map. Moles, squirrels, and pigeons.
I really love to do cheese. You can do cheese on Bellafeed here. You need maybe MG?
Alright,
Barbed
still
wire.
in unit selection. This is very different from the other games we've seen on this map. This should
Chip has Wolf, which makes, to me, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, on a one-base map like this, it's kind of strange, but maybe he's just not going to play it as a one-base map. We'll have to see. Without further ado, we have started our grand finals of the January campaign week 3 map draft. We have Chip from space to the west of the map, playing as Hopper in red for now, and Xeno Akoop as Bellafeed in blue to the east. On the map, the red basket, which, as we've seen today, was a very, very close set of one-base games so far, but Xeno Akoop might be up to something here.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the metagame is maybe to, it's the first game, you can try and maybe mole your enemy just to offset him of his plans, make up a metagame of the series, right, with the moles.
Yeah.
Or it could be a return of the squirrel mole, maybe the moles, everyone has forgotten about how much the moles can tank.
Yeah, definitely. I think players were experimenting with it yesterday during the Strawberry Cup.
Yeah, no cheese here. Xeno Akoop going for 7 farm into Squirrel. Chip from space going for 8 farm into Squirrel.
Selling.
Yeah, Xeno Akoop sold a farm. He is going to go for a squirrel mole, it looks like. But with this tiny map, Chip from space is just going to scout it right away. So he knows something is up.
Chip has MG Nest in case of emergency.
Yep. Xeno does have the Xeno has the barbed wire, which may or may not come into play. If he's going to be aggressive, it might be tricky to actually make that barbed wire work. And here we go. We have...
The trick to the cheese is exploiting this hilltop, which I did in my practice games a lot. I used to do MG Rush, but you can do basically anything because this hilltop serves as a good attack pointer.
Yeah, Xeno is going to go for 2 moles, looks like.
I think Falcons getting Falcons now is really, really scary, and that may cost the game.
Yeah, he has to hold this push very nicely. 1 mole is going to go down, but there is a Warren down already. The second mole does get completely destroyed, and Xeno loses his commander, so these squirrels are going to eventually die. Kind of scattered fire will take out, not quite take out a pig, kind of unfortunate. Xeno losing his commander there was probably not what he wanted, but he did kill 2 Warrens.
Back.
Yeah, it's 120 food lost for Chip from space, but Xeno Akoop losing his entire army in response.
And losing the 2 moles, which aren't coming back, so definitely have to keep that in mind. Now, Chip is going to start pulling ahead in army value with this Falcon out, the second one on the way. Xeno's mounting another attack, and Chip is going to scout it out just in time, seeing that one lone squirrel. Chip isn't quite in position, so the small is going to start hammering away at his warren, doing bonus damage, does get taken out. The Falcon is in the front, Chip pulling it back just in time. 2 more shots and it would have been down. It does go down, so there's now a mole and 2 squirrels against a bunch of defending units with the pigs from
This
Chip.
should be end of a Xeno.
Yeah, he tried twice and it didn't quite do enough damage.
Losing commander is really problematic if you're
Yeah,
trying
that's
these plays.
going a bit too far forward perhaps on Xeno, so it's going to be Chip taking game 1. Xeno trying to do something fancy, and it didn't quite work. So with that, Xeno is going to be picking the next the side we'll be playing on, so we'll see which map Chip wants to play on next. And Xeno definitely trying something different there. Not what we expect on this map from what we've seen, so very fast, very exciting game.
All right,
The
we're
next map
moving on.
was, yeah, Wizard Lagoon.
Seems to be one of the more stable maps. I think this is personally, if I can understand Xeno's train of thought, I think this would be his favorite map. We will have to see.
I think I had.
We'll just have to figure out who can change the map seed. Not AV. Not me. We'll just...
All
okay.
right, AV had it. Yep.
AV had it. We have remade a map. Perfectly fine. Nothing going wrong here. It is fine. Xeno has picked Hopper for this map, so Chip will just switch to Battlefield, and then we are good to go. Chip from space up 1-0 in this best of 7, so we do have quite a few games to go. I'm guessing Xeno isn't going to go for moles again.
I think his owl deck is coming to come in play here with MGs and all that stuff. And maybe Chip can even bring out a wolf if the game allows it.
We will see. We haven't really seen the wolf in action so far, though a few players have picked it. Alright.
Mole Pigeon from Chip from Space. First 2 picks.
Interesting. On this map, I'm not sure it can work, but hey, Chip's been on a pretty hot streak so far, so see if it'll work.
Xenocoop going back to a few tournaments ago, going for his 3 tier 2, 1 tier 1, 1 tier 3, and the structure.
Maybe that was Xeno's goal all along, force the Chip to try the mole stuff himself, and maybe...
force Chip into suboptimal picks.
You know, maybe drop a coin flip on the first game, then, you know... Maybe Chip, maybe suggesting that Chip should do something cheesy as well, you know.
Yeah,
And it
Chip-
is. His deck is pretty irregular with snakes and Badger there. Although Badger is a good damage dealer after all.
Chip has not taken squirrels or lizards.
Or
It's gonna be
toads.
interesting. Or toads.
So his only tier 1 is the mole and the pigeon, so we'll see how that works out. He does have the MG nest to defend, so we'll see if that can be enough. Okay, so
Yeah, introduce.
we have Xenocoop as Hopper, so the players have switched commands again. Xenocoop as Hopper to the south of the map, and then we have Chip from space as Battlefield in blue, all the way in the north on Lizard Lagoon. We've seen this map a few times, and there's no balloons this time, so we may be looking at a different game, and no fox either.
What I'm thinking is Chip is probably going for either eco build or maybe trying to go for mole rush right away. Other options would include, having pigeons, snakes,
This
and
looks
then
like a mole
transitioning
rush.
into Badger.
This looks like a mole rush with pigeon support to me.
Xeno has MGness, so he should be theoretically okay.
But the moles do have bonus damage against the MGs, so Chip, he's going to try this. He has his first pigeon coming, so pigeon is
I
going to
don't
fly
think
its way
it's
over.
going to work. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
We'll see. Xeno
yes.
dropped 1 farm, putting it back up there. But he's got 2 machine guns, and they cover the entirety of that opening.
Yeah, these machine gun that's just tearing through Chip's command. So he has
Zeno
to be
making
really
a good
careful.
decision of selling the farm. I think if he goes too greedy, he may actually lose to the moles and pigeons.
Chip, he's going to try it. One mole goes in. It is get heals a little bit, but it will go down. The second mole is going to go down. The third mole is also going to go down, but okay, that was not a good trade for Chip. Trading 3 moles and a pigeon for a single MG nest. So now Zeno, he didn't have any units yet, so he can't attack right away, but he has been farming for quite a bit longer than Chip, so the mole rush, pretty much a failure for Chip from space. So now we'll see what Zeno's response is to this.
This reminds me of some bronze matches in the past. So far.
Definitely, yeah. It is the best of 7, so there is some room to mess
play
around.
with, yeah.
Definitely seems what both players are going for now. So Zeno is on 2 tier 1 warrants, is going Falcons and an expansion, whereas Chip doesn't have any units currently because he doesn't have squirrels or lizards, so he will have to build a tier 2. He's going to opt for Falcons. Faking a rally there, interesting, even though he has no units. So Zeno has the choice to either go very far ahead in economy, which seems to be what he's going for.
Yeah, Chip slowly pulling back, but in
Chip
terms of-
faking a rally, very nice.
Come, my army, join me in this furious battle. Alright, I'm going
Mind games. Perhaps forcing Zeno to build less farms than maybe he wants to. Didn't sell anything though. Not panicking at all. Right, so Chip is going to get his first actual unit out, and the next one is going to be a Badger, which Zeno will scout. There is a tier 3 Warren going up.
Zeno doesn't have any units to break the MG nests on the high
Not
ground, so
currently,
he needs
but-
both Falcons and Ferrets.
He's going to go for an Owl though, because he did scout the tier 3 from Chip. Probably not expecting the Badger though. Then again, the Owl does fine against the Badger, I think. 2 MGs from Chip to deny any sort of aggression, which is going to work out. Looks like the Badger time is going to be pretty good. Warren's finishing, and he does have the food to start building the Badger.
I think Badger is better than Owl. Actually, if the mice is running, the Badger can start spinning up, before.
True.
And if it pops, it's only a coin flip whether it will kill, depending on circumstances, right? Whether it will kill the Badger or not.
Definitely not what I expected to see on this map, but it is what we're getting. So Chip is working with the fact that there are so few places to build warrants. He's just going to go Badger, Falcon, and Pigeons. And that's going to be his composition to try and break Zeno's economic advantage, pretty much. Zeno has a 2 MG nests up, so fairly strong defensive position. But in terms of firepower, I think they're fairly evenly matched.
Zeno has the advantage because of he now has 4 machine guns out on, or 5 machine guns out in the field. He's blocked off that western pass into his expansion, so no sneaky sneaks for Chip from Space this time.
Chip from Space is sold his Falcons, is building an expansion, and is building a second Badger, because why not?
Zeno Coop very far ahead in terms of economy, and we're about to hit that 5-minute mark, which means the first 4 farms of each base will farm out.
Yeah, I don't think Chip's game plan extended beyond 3 or 4 minutes, because he's sort of trying to improvise here, trying to catch up in some economy, but Zeno's been ahead for a
Double
long time.
Badger isn't much of an improvisation. It's actually, it can chew through a lot of stuff with ease. Double Badgers, when they spin up, it's just massacre, generally.
Especially with some mice out front, they will get in front and allow the Badgers to spin up a little bit faster than they would otherwise.
Yep, second Badger is about 15 seconds from finishing now, and Chip does have all these farms queued, so he will have some economy. Zeno's building a second Owl and is just happy to get himself, keep himself ahead pretty much. Is adding on a lot of Falcons, so just going for a lot of DPS in this army. Because the only thing that can deal damage for Chip are these 2 Badgers. Now, if Chip hadn't had a wolf, it could be very interesting. But right now, I think Zeno's army is just a little bit too strong for him.
Chip with 2 Badgers and just putting down pigeons, because why not?
The heals do stack, so there is a chance. But
It requires some finesse with a micro, actually, to keep the Badgers alive.
yeah, it's definitely Badgers are an interesting unit where you have to keep them firing on the move, and somehow keep the flock of pigeons, currently 11, that's going to be up to 24 once this is all said and done, up against up to 10 falcons, 2 ferrets, 2 owls, and a bunch of squirrels. Because no armies
You
can
have
take
to
them out
remember that
squirrels.
squirrels can, if the Xeno doesn't micro on badgers correctly, the squirrels will open fire on pigeons. And 24 pigeons, it's a lot of pigeons to kill, actually.
Yeah, it's very true. The only thing he really has to kill those are those falcons and pigeons. Oh, it looks like Xeno is moving his owls, but moving his falcons actually, so there is going to be a fight. So ferret shots landing, only taking out 1 farm so far. Pig is not going to dodge. And here comes the march of the badgers. So Chip is slowly moving forward, but there is a lot of water here, so the badgers are standing their ground. Pigeons dying left, right, and center. The first owl does die. Most pigeons are actually dead, so the badgers are so slow they aren't going to be able to retreat, and Xeno has all of his units still alive, except for the owls. And that's going to be a game.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
falcons deal a
1-1.
lot of damage.
Chip from space, pretty much behind the entire game after a fairly failed mole rush. And that's going to be 1-1. We have a best of 5 to play between these 2 players. So we figure out what is going to be the next map. Alright. So with that, both players have 1 point, so we can
The
be
dream
playing.
of the all 7 maps is still on.
Maybe.
All right, next map is going to be Trench, and Chip is going to take
Some
Table
commander.
Games decision.
That was so far we've seen some very different strategies on both of these maps than what we've maybe expected. Just waiting for Chip to select his commander here.
I don't think we're going to
see
see moles now.
that there is a chance that we don't see moles.
All right, Chip has selected Belafeed as his commander of choice, which means Xeno Coop is going to be his favorite Hopper Red in the Northwest.
Right. We are ready to get into game number 3 then. So both players do ready up. And then we can start match on the trench. So there's going to be, I believe, this was Xeno won this game against Bloater, unless I don't remember correctly. This was this was where Bloater started a Fox Warren, but he then sold it. But Xeno still managed to punish the investment. So Xeno has a fairly good history on this map. So we will see if he can do that again. And Chip is going to go for the... Oh, not going to go for the Badger. And what was that you said about moles?
Xeno trying to keep the mind games alive.
Yeah, it's
He did. I think it was really weird that Chip went for moles second game. You know, deviated
Might have been.
his plan.
might have been a bit of fan service, you know, doing one for the boys, play some moles. We'll see if the moles come into play this time. Perhaps going with
Has
moles is your only
Chips
tier 1.
played chameleons before, or
Yeah,
Not
once.
in this tournament, or maybe once.
Not in this set, but I believe in the last Casino.
Oh, right, so we do have the match underway. We have Xeno Coop playing as Hopper to the west, the northwest of the map, and then to the east we have Chip from space as Belafeed, and we have a Mole Rush. We
Right.
actually have a Mole Rush.
Mole Rush at 17 seconds from Xeno Coop. Not even
because
putting down
players
that-
don't scout there.
Exploiting
you scout?
this farm position is a race against the clock for this mole. Oh, okay, 1 for 1. I guess this is kind of in Xeno's favor.
A little bit in Xeno Coop's favor, about 51% net worth to 49 right now. If he had been able to keep that mole alive, it would have been a lot better. But obviously,
1 mole against a farm is just not quite enough to kill it and get away, even though he had the right angle for it. Nicely played from Xeno. And Chip building an MG nest just in case, because he saw Xeno's commander hiding up there. Alright, so looks like Xeno is gonna be... Well, both players are actually fairly even on economy. Yeah, dead even actually. Xeno is ahead for 2 food, which is probably not gonna matter. Some dancing going on. The swag wave, I like it. No one has built any units yet.
This will boil down to maybe a quick tier 3.
Chip going
then
chameleon first.
Not a bad choice by any tier 2s.
No, it's definitely one of the more versatile tier 2s. Them and snakes, I think. And Xeno is just going to go for a bunch of squirrels, because why not? And then choosing to add 1 falcons, which is definitely going to do great against those chameleons once they do reveal themselves. So Chip going for double chameleon, but does not have pigeons to back them up, so if he can't keep them alive, I think this might be risky. Question is, what does he reinforce his army with? I think the answer is just more chameleons. This, for some reason, these finals feel like a bronze match so far.
Yeah, a lot of cheese. Both players perhaps winning not too much in the past, so willing to play a few more fun games.
It's definitely interesting. Chip has 3 chameleons alive right now. It's sort of moving them around a bit, but not doing much. Chip so far having a tier 2 only army, which I must say I approve of. And Xeno is going to go for an owl before 3 minutes. So again, very non-standard game so far. Chip does give in to the temptation and build squirrels. And is starting to move his chameleons around, and it doesn't look like Xeno's going to scout this, so there are chameleons on Xeno's side of the map. The question is, where will they go? On the high ground, of course. I'm going to start a little campfire. And Xeno probably realizes that Chip has chameleons here. But this is, it's pretty interesting, I must say. I'm guessing Chip is waiting for Xeno to move out, and then the chameleons can move in.
Yeah, that's right. He wants to bait him out.
This could be a base race from Chip. It's very true. He's going to add in more falcons, whereas Xeno's owl is on the way, so it's going to be done in about 25 seconds. And that is probably the cue for Xenocoop to go on the offensive. With that owl, he can let it die aggressively, so he gets a bunch more mice. Because Chip's defense isn't all that strong currently. We will see what he tends to go
I think
for.
once Chip is ready for the base race, he will definitely add some MGs if his plan is to base race.
Moving the chameleons to the other hill, because they got tired of the view. And but the base race may not work because Xeno is building another base, and Chip doesn't have it scouted. Is going to see it now though.
Yeah, Chip
This kind of
slightly ahead in terms of army value. Both players equal on income.
Chameleons are moving though.
Chameleons are moving in. They are being forced to move, so it looks like Chip is either going to be sniping the Owl Warren. That's exactly what he's going to go for. He's going to try and snipe his Owl Warren. He does get it. 1 chameleon goes down. But as long as... Okay, Commander dies, so unfortunately, these chameleons will get taken out as well.
Yeah, not a great trade there. Looks like about 50-50 according to the
And
network
a nice
army value.
switch to double wolf from Chip as well.
Yeah, it's Chip selling his chameleons and going for 2 wolves. Probably, yeah, he's going to grab a base as well, because we have hit the 5-minute mark. He does have enough food, I think, to get these 2 wolves out. But this is pretty scary. Whether or not, if Xeno pushes with this, despite not having an Owl Warren, the Owl is still on the field.
He's gonna force Chip to spend food on stuff and, not going to have Echo while the Xeno has Echo.
Chip sold 1 wolf, and is opting for falcons instead. Does have food to start building the wolf, so it's going to be up in about 35 seconds from now. And the mice are sort of harassing. Xeno is going to add in some ferrets. Yeah, so like you say, he's probably adding in the ferrets to add some pressure here. And Chip is getting another base, despite being very low on income.
Chip is on timer here. He needs to force something since the Xeno's economy is kicking in right now, and Chip is starving at the moment, and he had all those Falcon productions, which he can't really sustain, to be honest.
Oh yeah, we'll have
You
to
can
sell
see
some
that
Falcons here.
Eat some red or sell the wolf, or try to go really aggressive and try to kill that.
Yeah, I think he
with
needs the
ton of
wolf
Falcons.
to. I think he needs the wolf to make this work. Xeno will see the wolf. Doesn't quite lose his commander, though these Falcons are pretty damn quick. So now, what does Chip sell? Because he will need some. Will need food. With this wolf buffing the pigs, farm up just a bit faster as well.
Speedy falcons are always amusing to watch.
Yep,
Not quite
it
as
is
good as
exactly
Wolves on
right.
the
Xeno's ahead here. If he's willing to push, not defend, I think he realizes he's in a good position, although he's being very careful with his attack here.
Yeah, Xeno's been very, very careful. I think that's the name of the game so far. He does have a huge economic lead right now. But if his owl dies, he can't get a new one.
He only needs to kill the Expo, and if he does, which he can,
True.
it should be it. Although he's playing very carefully, as you can see.
Just using the mice. Okay, here comes the fight. The Falcons from Chip are doing a lot of damage. They will kill the owl, but there's only 3 of them alive right now. They are being buffed by the wolf. Only 1 of them gets out. Now Chip is starving, and he will throw in the towel. Very quick ending to what was a slow build-up.
Yeah, it was almost in Chip's favor for a little bit, but then Xenocoop kind of fell back a little bit, built some more units, and by all measures, every graph was ahead.
Very, very interesting plays here on these maps from both players. We'll see what they pick next.
Chip picking moles now?
Probably.
Well, it
Xenocoop
went well
is
for
up.
Xeno.
It did work out this time. Xenocoop is up 2-1 in this best of 7.
The interesting fact that's being brought to our attention that with the same seed and with the same commanders is the same farm spawn. So Xenocoop knew that Chip was going to have that cross pattern of farms.
Interesting.
Go straight for the mole rush.
Players definitely clever enough to figure that out. We will wait as the players decide which map they want to play and which position.
All right, it is going to be roundabout.
Okay,
Our
map which
next
we've
map.
only seen once so far, which Chip did end up beating Xeno on earlier. So we are going to see a rematch on the same map. We have to wait for Chip to decide which commander he wants to go with. And then we will be good to go.
All right, Chip from Space is going to go for Hopper in this game 4.
We have the map seed set, so we are good to go. Just have to wait. They have to switch commanders before we start. There we go. Alright, so we will have a switch in colors. And then we are good to go for game 4 of this best of 7 between Chip from Space and Xenocoop. Xenocoop being up 2-1. So if he
Xeno
can
very
win,
decisive with his deck. Knows what he wants to do.
definitely knows what he wants to do. Completely different to what we saw from him last time, though he is playing on the Hopper spawn rather than the Battlefield spawn. Which is
I'd like to
different
point
from last
out that Xeno is using the magic trick versus Chip, which is barbed wire, since Chip's main deck doesn't have anything to kill barbed wire. Although this is an open map, I think it may be very, very good. And it's actually cheaper than mines, so I think Xeno can definitely benefit from placing good barbed wires here.
Alright, so we have Xenocoop playing as Blue and Bellafeed this time, so different from last match, to the south of the map. And then in the north we have Chip from Space playing as Hopper on our map Roundabout. Yes, Roundabout is the name. So we'll see Actually, I mentioned that they had different commanders compared to the last time they played this map, which is not true, because Xeno was playing Belafide as well. They just have completely different unit compositions this time. Xeno had landmines on this map the previous time, but is opting for the barbed wire now, which, with Chip not really having a melee unit, definitely feels like the right play. Looks like 7 farm from Xeno, whereas Chip is going to go for 8 farm Warren. But on a map this large, I feel like 7 farm Warren might even be a mistake.
For Xeno to win, he doesn't need to be much too greedy, since it's possibly the best way to lose him.
Nice dancing going on. Some very nice in sync. Xeno's actually getting quite a bit of food here. And Chip is
He's
delaying
going for
his
tier 2,
burn.
maybe.
Yeah, but Chip is delaying his timing quite a bit. Xeno's going up to 180 food before he can place anything. 190, hitting that 200 mark, and immediately plopping down 2 Squirrel Warrens, 3 Squirrel Warrens. So there's going to be some time before he gets an army up. Maybe dancing just a bit too much, but we'll see if Chip can realize what's going on. There's definitely a window he could exploit, but it doesn't look like he's going to go for it.
I think Xeno can defend with a couple of well-placed barbed wires around us. He does have food for it.
True. And Xeno is going to add in tier 2 first. It's going to be those Falcons. There's Chip heading back to base now. And we'll see what he decides to build. It's going to be pigeons first, and then some toads.
It looks like Chip is going for one base, kind of all in play, or at least, getting really hardcore.
With 7 tier 1 Warrens, definitely seems like a very strong one base attack.
And Xeno realizes that and responds with the barbed wire, which is very correct.
Yep, just nice and evenly spread out. Not too much, I don't think. Also positioning it nicely around the clumps of trees, which would stop Chip's movement. Chip can go all the way to the west here, but his units would be in kind of an awkward position. But we did see from Chip the last time they played this map.
Chip is trying to get maybe a fox even.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's the only way he can win versus barbed wire.
Then again, there is a point where there's just too much barbed wire for the fox to be effective. But Xeno will probably have to expand before he can get to that point, and neither player has a base right now, or has a second base right now.
Another thing Chip could try is maybe buy expansion up there, and maybe set up an offensive position there, since Xeno is way too up in his base.
Yeah,
you can't kill him in his base, but you can try to limit his expansion options. But decides to back off.
The player's going for an expansion. Go on.
Yeah, Chip from space has no melee units, so cannot take out the barbed wire in front of Xeno's base.
Yep, we have. We mentioned at the start of the series that this seems to be the Chip from space counter, as he doesn't tend to run melee units at all. But the fox is on the way. Xeno has an owl building. He's getting a little bit later than the Chip's tier 3. And farm-wise, Xeno's going to be ahead just a little bit, but not that much. So
it's being matched now.
Yeah, it's being matched. So both players very even in terms of army value. Exactly even, I think. With one tier 3, the same amount of tier 1, the same amount invested in defensive units. And Xeno scouting what Chip's tier 3 is. Does pay with his life, but it's definitely worthwhile information, knowing that it is going to be a fox. And that's going to be Chip's cue to go. Moving his fox forward. Looks like he's getting into position and going around the south, where there is no barbed wire. Looks like he picked up a squirrel and then just hit some mice. But the owl definitely showing that it's useful against the fox here. So as long as Xeno doesn't lose any falcons, which he does lose a falcon there, that's not good. So the fox is definitely done some damage now, despite shooting a bunch of mice. It's gotten a few squirrels, and killing a falcon was really bad. Almost gets another one, but there was a mouse spawning just in time. And Xeno's going to go for a second owl. So it's definitely going to have a pretty big meat shield against all these units, and Chip was floating quite a bit of food, microing his Fox this much. But it's going to pull ahead in economy, it looks like, because Xeno did go for that second tier 3 Warren.
And going for farms now.
Oh, very nice play from Chip. It's just going to take out these 2 pigs. There we go, drive-by shooting. It's in the news. And Xeno's selling his farm, so now it's up to Xeno to do a 1-base play with double out. And Chip is going to have to defend with a Fox, which isn't the best defensive unit, but he is getting some Falcons behind it. So now Xeno is on a timer, I think. Oh, but now these mice will chase the Fox all the way back. Let's be a little bit careful. Okay. Chip not giving up. And looks like Xeno has his 2 owls, so he's moving out. He's on 1 farm, so if Chip can survive long enough, Xeno is just gonna be out of time. Chip is gonna have most of his Falcons alive. Warrens are gonna take some damage, but the Fox goes down for Chip. Xeno loses 1 owl. It's gonna lose a 2nd owl almost. It is gonna live for quite a while. There's a lot of mice on the fields. Xeno is starving, but Chip might be just pulling ahead of this fight. The Falcon Warren's tanking a lot of damage, and with that, I think Xeno is gonna have to give up. I think the Falcon Warren placement there, tanking so much damage, allowing for Chip's Falcons to just keep firing, and Xeno ran out of steam. That was a quick end. Pretty crazy.
It was a nice build-up.
It was a nice build-up, true. It's gonna tie the series 2-2. So we are looking at a best of 3 with only 3 more maps to play. The Fox didn't really do anything in the last fight, as pointed out, but the Falcon Warrens tanked enough damage for Chip's Falcons to do what they needed to do. See what the next map is going to be. We only have 3 maps left to pick in this series, which I believe is Hilltop, Nomad's Pass, and No Tail's Land.
Alright, and it will be Nomad's Pass.
Okay.
Xenogoob's going for Hopper, red, which is in the southeast. Which means Chip from Space is going to be blue Bellafeed in the northwest.
Just gonna wait for the seed to be set here. And it is Nomad's Pass. Just waiting for everything to be set up, and then we're good to go. And we've talked about this in the previous series, but this is definitely the map where Bellafeed is on a timer and has to break through Hopper's line of defense wherever that may be. And we saw from Xeno that he definitely knew how to play this map earlier. He did take the win against Bloater on this map, I do believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Alright, so just waiting for Chip to ready up. There we go. And let's get this 5th game going. I'm expecting Xeno to get some form of defensive structure. There we go. It is the MG nest.
Lizards!
It's
lizards here.
New unit confirmed. No tier 3 this time. And Chip is going to get some toads. Even though there haven't been any lizards recently, is still going to get those safety toads and an MG nest of his own.
Yeah, good read from Chip from Space there. Although toads are useful in that composition anyway.
So wait for the map to load, and here we go. We have Xenogroup as Hopper to the south of the map, and Chip from Space in the northwest as a Bellafeed. And this is going to be Chip from Space has about 5 minutes to win this game. Would you say that's correct?
I think that's correct, more or less. It also depends on Xeno, rather taking defensive base or offensive, but I will think that taking offensive base is much more better for this map.
Yeah, it seemed to work for him last time, so I imagine he's going to do the same thing.
It was pretty sketchy there with Bloody reinforcing.
It was true, yeah, but maybe he knows to place the MG nest in a slightly different position now. But then again, it might open Chip for going around the north side rather than the south side. So we'll have to see how he adapts. Alright, looks like 8 farm for Chip, and Xeno's going to go for 7 farm Warren.
Yep.
Xeno seems to be favoring the 7 farm over the 8, even though this map is fairly large, I think. It takes a while to get to your opponent's base. So we will see how this ends up playing out. Xeno is waiting to see which kind of tier 1 Chip goes for, I think. He's going to stack up some food here, so Chip is not going to waste any time, just add on more Warrens. Xeno does have 120 food, so has to add in some squirrels and some lizards. So we'll see if Chip can scout these lizards and maybe add in some toads, or if he's just going to go with more squirrels.
I don't think the Xeno is going to use much lizards in his build, just a little bit.
Yeah, I think Chip has been grabbing toads regardless for a few matches now. Well, you say that, but Xeno is adding in a total of 9 lizards now.
I think he's gambling on the fact that Chip may not pick toads, but
or
as
it
soon
might
as
not.
Chip realizes that whole dynamic is going to change.
Yeah, Chip doesn't
Xeno
have
might
any
have to
toads
drop the
building
lizards.
yet. There we go. So he's going to just build his first toads now.
This map is not great for any kind of lizard wraparound, unless...
The hard point is in establishing now.
Yep, Xeno pushing forward, gonna grab that forward base, as we saw him do against Bloater. And Chip just building up his forces. Is building up to 6 toads, and is gonna have a slight army lead because Xeno is going for this base, so looks like Chip is gonna try and deny this right away. Does have 12 squirrels and a bunch of toads.
It should be definitely in Xeno's favor.
Yeah, the toads
Especially
didn't
with
do
the lizards,
anything.
and he did hide.
Yeah, toads did not do anything that fight. So,
And shutting down Chip here, and then establishing a hard point without much consistency, this spells end for Chip, I think.
yeah, Chip,
This could be right
Xeno
here, unless Chip
placing
can
his-
pull a magic.
Xeno places MG in a slightly different position, and adding on a 3rd even, and Chip does not have ferrets to deal with this. This fight has to work out for Chip. He does get some good toad hits, but now the MG-nest is going to be up. Chip has slightly more squirrels than Xeno, so he can take this fight if he doesn't run into the MG-nest, but he has to be careful, since that is a lot of firepower on that defensive line.
Xeno's still at about twice the army value of Chip has been throughout that whole engagement because of those machine guns, and a little bit ahead in terms of net worth as well, about 2%.
But Chip
Floating a
has,
lot of food. Xeno's floating a lot of food.
yeah, Xeno is floating up to 300 food, which may end up costing him quite a bit. Kind of indecisive what he wants to do with it, realizing now that he hasn't been using his food, plops down a bunch of squirrel warrens and a bunch of farms, but Chip does actually have quite a big army here. Xeno sold his lizards, which is why he was floating so much food earlier. So now, Chip, using his toads to tank some of the MG nest damage, is going to try and expand. He has cleaned up 2 of these MGs, but Xeno's reinforcements are starting to come in. Xeno is selling farms, building farms, not quite deciding what he
Well,
wants to do.
he realized that he may be in a lot more trouble than he expected,
Yeah.
although fight on his way.
Taking out a Warren here does Chip. Got some good toad hits, and now he has more squirrels than Xeno. Even though he's fighting on Xeno's turf, does take out a Warren. So Chip might actually be in a position to do this. Is going to start losing some reinforcements to this turret, though, so has to be careful.
Xeno has
Xeno.
a lot more reinforcement, I think.
Xeno does have more squirrels now, but only has managed to build 1 farm so far. So
It's still enough, I don't think.
economy-wise, yeah, might still be enough. This is really close. It's going to hit 5 minutes now, so what was a small percentage lead in income is now a 20% percentage lead in income. And here we go with another fight. The toads aren't going to blow up. The one toad coming in from the side got very close, but does get taken out by that machine gun nest, unfortunately. But these squirrels from Chip are actually going to do the job. Although
Because the
Xeno's
pigeons.
reinforcements, yeah, the pigeons from
Xeno
Chip.
has no pigeons, that's why he lost his battle. more or
This is
less.
going to be close because the reinforcements are again. The reinforcements getting hit by these machine gun nests. Now Chip has to sell something to try and get a Warren up here. I think he needs to sell the toads, but he may not have the time to do it. Chip gets a farm, but it's his squirrels that have been doing great in these fights. He's going to try and take SMGs, but Xeno is there to counter. Toad staying in the back, not doing anything against the lizards. 1 for 1 there. Oof, this is pretty rough.
Yeah, Xeno
Chip
Coop-
managed to gain some ground, but yeah, Xeno is still ahead.
Chip has to keep selling units to stay in this game, whereas Xeno can keep what he has. Definitely working out in Xeno's favor. But we'll see, there's a few more fights left in this, so we can see if Chip can pull it back. One Toad does explode onto a single lizard, but I think this is going to be enough for Xeno to just take this fight. There's no more pigeons. Xeno has a slight squirrel lead, and that will just snowball into a larger squirrel lead. And once he can kill this base from Chip, he's going to go pull back. Sells the MG nest, but Chip is down to 2 squirrel warrens, a pigeon warren, and a toad warren. Doesn't have the units to reinforce, so probably Xeno holding on just long enough.
To
Yeah,
the last
Xeno-
squirrel they will fight. Sorry, go on, Captain.
Xeno Coop ahead about 60-40 in terms of net worth right now. And ahead
That
by
is a
11
big
as well.
lead. That is a big lead. Fire kind of spread here, but with that farm going down, this mill is going to go down, and that is going to be no way for Chip to come back from this. He's going to start starving here, and that is going to be it. So Xeno is up 3-2 now. He needs one more win to do this. And then we will see if Chip can pull it back and tie up the series again.
Interesting match so far. I think Xeno almost made a big mistake of floating too much food while he's realizing that he didn't need so much lizards. He sold lizards, but he didn't spend it right away, which caused the Chip to gain position. Because Xeno actually won the game like really fast early on, but almost that one mistake swung the game in Chip's favor back. And if Chip destroyed that MG nest with little to no losses, I think the Chip could have get in some ground, and from then on he could actually win the fight.
Alright. We only have 2 maps left.
Yeah, map
What is
will
the
be
choice?
No Tails Land. Xeno Coop's going to go for Bellafide Blue.
Seems like the safest choice for him. Alright, so we'll just have to set up this lobby again.
I hope
With
he
the
doesn't
correct
make the same
spawns.
mistake as he did in semi-final match winners bracket.
Yes.
That is correct. No Tails Land is going to the map. The only one left is Hilltop.
Alright, so it looks like the seed is set. Players are already up with the commanders of their choice.
They, I do believe, played this match like exactly in the same positions and on the same map.
Yes, I think
Semifinals.
that is correct. With Xeno doing a lot of work with ferrets on this map, I do believe.
Chip bringing in a boar, realizing that there's been too many squirrels in this game.
Alright, so now we have game number 6 in his best of 7. Xeno Coop up 3-2, so if he wins this game, he will be champion for the 2nd week in a row. And Chip from Space is going to be trying to win 2 tournaments back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday, but we will see how this plays out. Introducing our players, we have Chip from Space to the east of the map, and Xeno Coop all the way up in the north as Bellafide in blue. Right, so no Tails Land, a lot of open space with no real points of contention.
But no foxes. No foxes here.
No foxes and no tier 3 from Xeno, though Chip does have his uncle Butters. We'll see
Farm
if
from
we get...
Xeno, yeah.
Yeah, Xeno changing it up a little bit. He's been going 7 farm for most of this game, and now it's going to be... Nope, never mind.
Oh,
Xeno
yeah.
7 farm Warren, and Chip going 8 farm,
Eight,
because they
yeah.
did switch commanders, I think. So we'll see if Chip gets an early tier 3, which was his winning strategy last week. Right, just going to be tier 1. It's going to be the name of the game. Some nice commander dancing going on again. Banners flying in the wind. Xenocoop scouting squirrels, going back, and is going to add in squirrels, because why not? Alright. Both players just going up to 9 squirrels, and maybe looking to get tier 2 after that. Xeno building up some food. And Chip is going to go up to 12 squirrels. Nope, just mirror builds again. But Chip might be going for an attack here, so might have scouted this Warren on the low ground and went for it, but might not be enough. Chip is slightly ahead in this engagement. Xeno had to give the high ground with his commander. Now Chip's units are kind of spread out, so it might not be the best fight to take. He's trying to poke away this Warren, but Xeno's reinforcements are going to come in, and Chip is going to back out. But he does take a small victory there. So Chip...
Which allowed them to actually get pigeons, and I think a lot of games have been dependent on pigeons, although Xeno is getting pigeons of his own, which kind of negates the thing.
Yeah, both players getting pigeons, but Chip is going to get 2 pigeon horns. Xeno is going to get a mill instead of another tier 1 warren. So Chip's going to pull slightly ahead in army value.
Interesting that Chip scouted it behind a bit of his base, maybe looking a place to place his boar, and now he confirms that the squirrel count is high and may actually go ahead and maybe get a boar right now.
He does have quite a bit of food, so looks like that is what he's going to do. Exactly on 180 food. Plonks down the boar warren. But Xeno is just going to scout it. So he does know that there is a tier 3 coming. But he doesn't have a tier 3 of his own, so what is going to be his answer? Farms, apparently.
Farms kill butter.
Yeah, Xeno's just going to go economy.
Maybe it wouldn't be too great if maybe Xeno misreads the situation of what Chip is building, because Chip hasn't showed the bear this tournament, and Xeno may be thinking maybe it's Fox or something he can deal with. Or...
Yeah, Xeno definitely scouted the tier 3 warren. So
and he's adding more squirrels, so I think he's maybe gambling that is Fox, and he wants to get as much squirrels as possible in order to push the Fox away. Which would work, right? But versus the boar, it isn't a good answer, and it may cost him a game now.
Yeah, if he's expecting Fox, then just getting a bunch of farms and a bunch of tier 1, then that might be the answer, because he can just keep reinforcing.
If he's expecting anything but boar, right? Yep. Badger, wolf, owl...
If this was last week, he would have expected a boar right away, but this is the first time we've seen it played in this tournament, so I don't think Xeno is expecting this, but he is going to get a lot of squirrels. So Chip is going to have to do some good micro here with his Uncle Butters. It is on the way, hits the road, goes jogging, and here it comes. It's going to start laying down flame, and this is where Xeno realizes he may not be expecting, because the squirrel count for Xeno is dropping fast. Chip has quite a few pigeons keeping his Uncle Butters alive, and now Xeno's down to 3 squirrels, 2 squirrels, whereas Chip still has 8. There's going to be a lot of reinforcements streaming in from Xeno. With pigeons keeping Uncle Butters alive, I think eventually Chip is going to be able to power through, although if Chip has to fire down on 1 squirrel at a time, it will take him quite a while to kill all these squirrels. Because Uncle Butter's strength is of course the AoE. Now Chip's reinforcements are coming in. Xeno's squirrel numbers are actually lower than Chip's despite having a lot more warrens, and it looks like Chip's Uncle Butter's push is going to do it. It's going to take out Xeno's expansion. And that's going to be it.
Yeah, if it was anything but the boar, it would have been in Xeno's favor, but since it was boar, it just...
roasted. That is just
exactly
the strategy from last week, the early Uncle Butters punishing squirrel only completely. So nice switch up from Chip. And that's going to tie up the series. We're going to go to a game number 7. And we are going to see the final map being played, which is going to be Hilltop, since that's the only one left. And I believe... So Xeno lost this last match, so Xeno gets to pick the spawn pretty much, since there is no choice for the map. So game number 7 is going to be a deciding match. We've had quite the run up till now. A lot of different strategies.
All right, it will be Hilltop, and Xenocoop is going to go for Bellafeed, which leaves Chip from Space as Hopper.
Alright. Like the map seed is set, so once Xenocoop rejoins the lobby, we can actually get started. And whew, game 7.
Let's get
Are we
hyped.
going to see a mole rush?
Seventh game Mole Rush. Why not?
Isn't that too much pressure for the Malverses? I mean, you're
Probably.
playing 3-3, and you really want to bring your best game, not like the
Probably.
mole thingies.
Yeah, I do remember the most ballsy mole rush we've seen was Deadbones when he was 1 game away from elimination in, was it November Knockout? It was. Deadbones going mole rush in an elimination game, and he pulled it off.
Xeno,
Yeah.
pretty consistent. Like, oh no, changes up a bit.
Alright. So we'll be playing Hilltop, which is only seen once so far, I think. Which you described as a really good lizard map, and Chip is going to go for lizards here.
Yeah, but Xeno strangely packs toads now, which he didn't, I think, in most of the games.
Yep, but probably recognizing that this is a lizard map. Okay, and with that, we have game number 7 between Chip from Space and Xenocoop. This time not changing commanders, so Chip from Space is going to be playing Hopper to the south of the map, whereas Xenocoop is playing Bellafeed in blue to the northeast. Okay, let's see what ends up happening. Chip going for a wolf for his tier 3 choice here.
Xeno with a fox.
Lizards with wolf buff are probably a good counter to fox.
Remember, whoever wins this game will be the champion of this week's tournament, which is the
And since we have a repeat of last week's finals, we will see if Xenocoop can stay the champion for 2 weeks in a row, or if Chip from Space can invert the score from last week. Xenocoop going 7 farm Warren again, as we have come to expect by now, and Chip just going 8 farms before grabbing his first, probably tier 1, which is going to be squirrels. But yeah, I think Chip from Space actually has quite a few ways of dealing with Xeno's Fox if it does come into play. He has MG nests, he has Wolf buff to speed up his units, to be able to catch up to it, so...
The problem is that the Hopper's army can be at multiple places at once in general, and Fox can abuse it. There's so many points on which to
True.
attack an expansion.
You need a lot of MG nests to shut out a Fox on this map. So we'll see if...
7 farm Warren into squirrels. Chip from
I
Space
believe
going
Chip
for
went
lizards.
8.
Oh, did he?
Yes. Chip is going to add in some lizards on top of his squirrels, and Xeno scouted it, going for some toads. But the lizards might be able to run around the toads on this map, so... We'll see if either player goes for early aggression, considering that this is the final game in what's been a pretty long series, or if they want to play it safe and go for a specific compositional time before attacking. It looks like Chip is going to go for a lizard run by.
Oh, that's a good spot there as well.
Oh, okay. Just placing his lizards in position, calling them onto what we consider to be the best expansion for Bellafeed. Just going to hide them there for now. Isn't quite sure what to do with them yet. Xeno's army is very defensive.
Xeno making
hiding.
MG there, so I think he's planning to go for that expansion now, as you can clearly
Yeah.
see. And he's gonna find lizards there, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
'cause
he will
Chip-
just
oh,
go
the
past
lizards
them.
do get aggroed, and okay, Chip sold his lizard warrens. What a play! So now this is pretty scary for Chip. He has 3 squirrels, 3 pigeons, and half a falcon. And Xeno realized
I'm
that
not
he
sure why
sold his
didn't
lizards.
he sold like buy a couple MGs.
Yeah, he didn't buy
No,
any
it's a
MGs,
bit
so
too
this might be a
late.
mistake. Toads are coming in. Some hit onto the warren. There are some squirrels dying. Xeno's just going to try and push in and brute force this. Chip from Space does lose a farm, but now it looks like Xeno kind of runs out of steam. His toads aren't going to get any more explosions. And with that, Xenocoop does get pushed back. And now it's
And now it's up
Chip
to
who can go on.
counterattack.
Yeah, counterattack from Chip. His warrants that he built earlier are going to start kicking in. He's down one farm, but he does have a fairly strong army with pigeon, squirrels, and falcon support. There we go.
I'm not sure if the Xeno selling the stuff was a good thing now, since
He sold
whipped-
some MG nests, which weren't up. I don't think the MG nests were in a great position, so Chip just picks off a warren. It's going to take a second one here. Gino's just going to let it happen. Chip threatening a third warren does get it down. One toad explodes, so that's quite a bit of damage, but then Chip has to pull back his falcons.
Falcon
Both his
dies.
falcons die. Both of Chip's falcons die, so that's a lot of his DPS gone, and now Chip from space is going to be pushed back, but Xeno lost.
And now it's Xeno's turn to counterattack.
But if you look at the army numbers, it's pretty even. So I don't think Xeno has the edge on a counterattack. It's just Chip has one farm less than Xeno for a while now.
Yeah, Xeno now slightly ahead in economy, but otherwise both players at about even everything else. Army
And
value
5-minute mark is approaching as well.
Ooh, Chip selling one of his Falcon Warrens because he does need the food, and he's going to push forward onto this base, which may open up the map for Xeno.
No,
But I
it
think this position means Xeno can't take the base to the east, correct?
it depends whether he can contest that little choke, whether he has units. He has toads, which, works great in
True.
small chokes.
Okay, Xeno does believe he can get this base.
4 farms, maybe too greedy.
Chip he had a lot of food, so I think the army values are still even enough. It's going to take a while for Xeno to build up his squirrel count here. And I think Xeno wants to get these farms up first and foremost, even selling a squirrel warren to get some extra food. I think in a game 7 like this, you don't want to lose because you neglected your economy.
Yeah, so Xeno playing safe and matching the farms
Yeah.
as well.
Both players.
And we have a
playing safe.
longer game for us.
So no one really wants to lose, which is to be expected. Chip still has this one farm on his main base, which has never been rebuilt. Might not come into play. But Xeno just leaving his army in a very defensive position, Chip doing the same, and just building up farm numbers again. And it's going to be a second round of one base play, I guess. It's a lone MG nest of holding the ground for Xeno Coop. And I guess
Xeno's warrens are not in such a great position.
yeah,
Especially if Chip could maybe even build 3 lizards and just run them up. I think the MG's position is going to hold there, but if he decides to sell his warrens.
yeah, Xeno sells one of the MG nests, sells the MG nest and his Toad Warren because there are no more lizards, and he's going to go for a fox now. And Chip currently is not ready for a fox.
I think Xeno will try to replace his warrens slowly,
Yeah,
moving
It looks
them
like
over
that's
to
what
this
he's
side.
trying to do.
Chip will now scout and realize that there's a lot of warrens unprotected and maybe, get some lizards there. Even 3 lizards. Would,
Oh, Chip does scout the
clear
tier 3
down.
here. So he kind of knows that's happening, but the question is, which units does he use to go and deal with these warrens? Or does he go for the warrens at all? He has to get... Oh, it looks like he's just going to go for a push here. Moving his army forward, he has 3 falcons right now, and Xeno's fox is going to be a little bit delayed. He's trying to build falcons at the same time, so with only 1 base worth of income, it does take a while. Xeno's fox does
trying
start.
to get some big.
Yep. Chip ooh, does pick off 1 farm. Lost a few squirrels for it. Okay, and now his falcons are in a really good position. So he's just going to try and take this fight, but his machine gun nest isn't firing. Chip's falcons are mostly dead. Xeno has the falcon lead now, but Chip has the squirrel lead, and now the reinforcements are coming in for Chip, so it looks like it's going to be really close.
Down to the last squirrel, it seems.
Lost to the last squirrel and falcon, and Chip is going to be pushed back. And Xeno's fox is almost done.
Although Xeno killed a lot of army, he lost 2 farms for that.
But Xeno has his fox, so if Chip can't respond to this fox
On
in time,
low numbers, yeah, the fox is going to be really good now.
so now Chip has to start building, the MG nest right there. And either
Chip has
tank
kind of
is coming-
economy to, sustain some losses now
Yep.
with squirrels.
Alright, so Chip doesn't lose any farms, which I think is the big story here.
If Xeno can bring Falcons and Fox to the bottom, he could snipe a lot of pigs without
True.
Chip being able to retaliate at all.
A little bit risky from Xeno, but the risk does pay off. He snipes a single farm.
Very tense here. Whoever wins this will be the champion. Last game in a best of 7.
Chip has to be careful not to lose any Falcons here.
And Xeno doesn't have pigeons to heal his Fox.
Yeah, very good point. So he has to be... I mean, he has a lot of territory control here, so his Fox is going to be healing most of the time, but still only 1 HP every 2 seconds. Is not all that much. Xeno's going to try and add in some ferrets.
Xeno, is bringing his Falcons as well, as you can see. Maybe he realizes that. Oh, he has.
He has a Falcon. Yeah, he has Falcon.
He can siege this slowly as well.
Ooh, so now Chip sold his MG nest, so now he's going to start losing farms. He loses a Falcon as well. Losing a pig. Going to lose a few squirrels now. What is Chip going to do with this? He has a bunch of squirrels, but
he doesn't have a lot of options here.
Yeah. Xeno very smartly having the ferrets to deal with the MG nests, and now...
I think Fox here did win the game.
Fox and ferret pressure is eventually just going to slowly step out Chip from face. We do have a last fight coming up. Chip does have a few more Falcons, but most of them completely get roasted. Chip has no more units left, and it looks like Xeno Coop is ready to take it, and Xeno Coop is going to be your map draft champion in an epic 7-game series against Chip from space. That was pretty good. Whew.
GG. Definitely tense. I'm on the edge of my seat. My palms are sweaty. Looking at that Fox maker from Xeno Coop, and unfortunate for Chip from space. Losing that Falcon on one of the first shots, but having those ferrets plus the Falcons to get rid of the only thing that could have stopped that Fox, the 3 machine guns on the ledge. Just the perfect storm for Xeno Coop. Well played.
Yeah, the ferret addition to his army definitely sealing the deal there. Allow continue harassing and continue playing. So with that, we'll update our final brackets. If we can do this properly, alright. And I believe we have Xeno Coop for a winner's interview.
Congratulations, Xeno.
Thank you very much.
So the consecutive January campaign, winning twice in a row, it's obviously a first, but must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good. I was a little scared for a little while, but we managed to pull it through.
Yeah, it was a few mole rushes. Why moles?
So on Breadbasket, I don't really care for that map on either side. It doesn't really suit me too well. And I was really just kind of looking to do something different. I thought 24 HP moles meant that squirrel mole timing might be viable again.
Right.
Took out some Warrens, but didn't actually do enough damage, ended up losing that game. And then in the Trench game, I noticed every time I played Trench, because I played Trench a lot, it was like, when I had to pick a map, I would always go to Trench. What I found is Bellified, his starting farms were always in a plus formation, where the middle ones were the only ones that spawned.
Right.
And that left him very susceptible to mole rush.
Yeah, so you ended up getting a single farm with a single mole.
Yeah, it ended up not working as well as I thought, but I decided to try something. I think at worst it was even-ish.
Yep.
Maybe. I don't know. The downside is I had moles in the deck for the rest of my game.
It's definitely a downside these days. Let's talk about the second to last game. The game
I think especially the second game where the Chip tried to execute something. Do you think this first game set off into
the second game?
Lizard Lagoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up, saw 4 Farm Warren, and 4 Farm Warren is not a good build, because it's easily scoutable, and it never does enough damage to be worth it, in my opinion. And so I went back and I built a turret, and then I went up and saw moles, so I just built a couple more turrets, and from that point it was just a matter of fact of, well, he's got his 2 bases that are really easy to defend, and I didn't really want to push up into those.
Mhm.
So I just kind of built up a huge economy, big army, and then attacked him.
And the mole rush that Chip was going for definitely didn't really work out.
Yeah, he lost a lot of stuff on that rush. So
And then he was just behind in economy. But then the game 6, where we saw the one and only Uncle Butters for the entire finals today.
yeah, that was an exceptional read from him. I scouted T3-1. I was like, okay, I have an expansion with 3 farms. I'm just going to build a whole bunch of farms and build a whole bunch of squirrels. Because if he was going Fox, which Fox is really great on no-tails land, and there's been a lot of Fox play recently.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's probably Fox. And there's that little thing in the back of my head that was like, it could be Butters because he knows this. But at a certain point, I was just like, if it's Butters, he deserves the win. He knew that I would do the Fox read and do the Fox counter, and he had Butters.
Fair enough.
So
he
that
had
was
no
like,
real counter.
yeah, and I just had a whole bunch of squirrels against Butters.
You committed
which-
heavily, to the Fox plan, I think.
Yeah, I
Did
was
you
just all
consider
in.
Falcons for a second, just for
I mean, they get one shot by Fox or
Fox? So
Fox. So I was just like, I'm all in on the fact that it's Fox. If it's Fox, I win. If it's pretty much anything else, I lose. I think Owl, I'd be fine.
I think he'd
I
be
have
fine
a
against
question
most
about the Nomad's Pass, where you decide to ditch your lizards and floated a lot of food and give the chip a clear advantage after you almost won the game with the 3 MG nests. How come you sold the lizards so fast and floated a lot of food? And do you think it went a bit risky there?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot shakier than I wanted it to be. He did a good job exploiting that timing. He just had like, I don't know, about 20 seconds before a 20-second window or so where he was able to punish that. So the idea there was, I kind of took a gamble, said, okay, so my game plan for Nomad's Pass is to take that 1 mil that you saw me take pretty much every series, set up turrets, squeeze them out. That's the game plan. And so lizards were going to give me the tempo advantage, winning that first fight really heavily to set up the contain. Usually I try to set up the contain with building turrets and equal squirrel fight. This time I was like, I'm going to catch him without toads in his army with lizards and just kill him. Then he adapted, put toads in his army. That was upsetting. Once he has toads in his army, given the fact that I want to be fighting around positions, I don't really like doing like lizard wraparounds when I'm trying to fight at a certain place, which was around my turrets. So I sold them off so that his toads would essentially be useless.
Yeah, which was
and it
definitely...
just took-
we talked about this quite a few times during the cast, is that the Chip was forced to sell off Warrens, and he kept his toads for a very long time, but he didn't get any detonations. So it's definitely the right play into forcing him to still have those toads, but it didn't really do anything. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, and then just barely managed to grind him out from there. With some
it was
really
still really close
squirrel
in the end.
fights.
Yep. All right, well, with that, we'll be closing off our broadcast for today. Congratulations again, Zeno. Thank you for this interview. It's great having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to going back and watching the replay.
Yep, and winning next week as well, I'm sure. And thanks again. We'll see. Thanks as well to Chip from Space for playing, of course, Classic Metal and Bloated, who are other 2 players. And we will see you next week for another standard tournament. None of this fixed seed shenanigans. We'll just have a nice, simple, clean double elimination bracket. So sign-ups for that are open. It's going to be the same format as we did last week. And then coming up in February on the 11th, which is a Saturday, I do believe, or is it Sunday? I totally prepared this. It is a Saturday. No, that's March. It is a Saturday. There we go, because February has 28 days, which makes it the same in March. Boom. We have Faction Frenzy 4, which is going to be our 2v2 tournament. It's going to be hosted by MJ for the most part, and signups are open. I will post the link for that in Twitch chat and in Discord. So if you want to play some 2v2, it's a great fun tournament. go do that. Come play. It's going to be amazing. With that, it's going to be Clash of Comrades signing off. With me have been LOL Steamroller. Thank you so much for your commentary.
Congratulations to Zeno. Yeah, thanks for having me.
With me has also been Captain Fog.
Thanks so much. Enjoyed it.
And behind the scenes, AV Ultima, the man, the legend, running the stream, doing everything else. Thank you so much for doing this. It's going to be Clash of Comrades signing off. Have a great night.
See ya, boys. Good games.